A warm welcome to a Tuesday morning here on the Joy News channel. The show is the AM show. So what's your plan for today? I guess you're out there to achieve them. But remember that the opportunities that are opening today, like I always say, will be taking advantage of the prepared mind. So how prepared are you? Well, get prepared, step out there and make good of the opportunities that are opening to you. Good morning again and welcome. On behalf of the team, please, thanks for making us a part of your morning. Well, on the AM show today, we'll start off with the news review. Lawyer Kweku Paintel will be our guest this morning. After that, we'll bring you the latest from the world of sports. Muftawa Nabila will be joining us with all that you need to know from the world of sport. Yesterday, Arsenal won their game by how many goals, he will tell you. And then we'll move on to the big stories. Today on the show, we'll delve into the Bank of Ghana issue now. The Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Addisons has been speaking and explaining the reasons for their loss of 60.8 billion. Professor Lord Mensah, who is an associate professor of finance, University of Ghana Business School, will be joining us. Professor John Gatsi as well is the dean of the School of Business of the University of Cape Coast. He will be joining us as well for us to delve into all of those issues. We'll take you to the Upper East region of Ghana, which has recorded the highest number of cases of elephantiasis, also known as lymphatic filariasis, in the country. Why that? What is accounting for that? Now, according to the Ghana Service, there has been some 2,373 confirmed cases of elephantiasis in the region, accounting for about a third of the total national cases. But why is that? We'll discuss that with Bright Alomatu, desk officer for lymphatic filariasis NTD program, and Solomon Atimbere, program manager, American Leprosy Missions. They will be joining us to have that conversation here. Now, also on the show, we'll talk about the Operation Double Science STEM enrollment. The Education Ministry says this initiative is to educate and sensitize the public on the prospect of pursuing science and STEM-related courses, demystifying the learning of science and STEM, and leading to increased enrollment in our respective senior high schools across the country. We'll delve into this and find out how it's going to be done and all of the things that you need to know in that. Now, Chale Wote began yesterday with a beautiful procession, cultural procession through Osu. We'll learn about it. We'll take you there and tell you much more about Chale Wote. It's happening. It's still ongoing till 27th of this month. Remember that this show is about you and I. And so your say is very valued to us. And therefore, the dying members of the show would let you have your say. You can call us on phone, plus our social media reactions to the topics that we'll be discussing. And then we'll all together share our thoughts on how to build Mother Ghana. That's how the show will be. And I hope that you spend your morning with us. I am grateful that you've allowed us to be part of the morning. Well, welcome to it, and that's how the show will be. But up next is the AM News. Stay with us. Good morning and welcome to the AM News. Residents of Nkwanta in the Nkwanta South municipality of the Oti region say they fear recent flooding in the area could collapse the bridge. Now, the steel bridge caved in 3 years ago as a result of heavy trucks crossing. Though a directive was given by Roads Minister Amoakwata to get it fixed, the bridge is still faulty. Peter Seno reports.
Is it a helpless situation for residents in Nkwanta South municipal capital? Maybe yes. It has been over 3 years since the Roads Minister Amoakwata ordered for the caved-in bridge to be fixed immediately sometime in February 2020. Nothing has really been done about it till now. Residents who were on site refused to speak to Joy News because they had complained over the years, but to no avail. Only one man, Adam Ahmed, a driver who could not work due to the nature of the bridge, spoke to Joy News.
Minister join is for Murama metimi adia boy. Ye brepa okwan so too much. Ekwan ankasa enye. Me driver ni okwan.
I believe if Joanne's gets involved in this, we will have some solution. I'm a driver on the road, and the road is not too good. For you to move from here to Kwe and Power, it is not that easy. We are just appealing to the authorities involved to get this bridge fixed for us. Our cars are behind. It is the tricycles that bring the loads and the passengers to us.
The
collapsing steel bridge has also been hit by floodwater a week ago, dangerously exposing the concrete works. Adjoining communities who use the bridge to access Nkwanta Market on Mondays are also cut off. This would definitely have a toll on their income and other economic activities. Bright Langwa is the MC for Nkwanta South. He has been providing some explanations to Joy News.
The bridge over the Gichebun Bridge River in Nkwanta town happened the way it is today because a truck that is loaded with foodstuffs supposed to overtaken by the load that it was carrying, and so it caused a cave-in of the bridge. And this has been the situation since 2020 thereabout. Since then, we have made several attempts to create some diversions so as to avoid commuters from using that bridge, because in our own estimation, it has become a deaf bridge and any disaster could occur on it.
He denies the broken culvert in the water was due to poor work done by the contractor, adding it was done earlier 2022 to pave way for works to begin on the metal bridge.
I don't want to believe the work that the contractor did on the culvert, which is the diversion, was a shoddy work. No. It was well constructed, but the volume of water that comes is high. And take note, that was also a temporary work. It was done early 2022 so that engineers will have access to come and work on the metal bridge. So the diversion, which is made of culvert, was done according to specification.
But how helpless is the situation? The MC does not agree it is a helpless one, even after 3 years of the bridge being in a dangerous state without any action.
I wouldn't say it's a helpless situation because since the last event, we've again communicated with our superiors. I reported to my immediate boss, the regional minister, and my sector minister. I was at the Feeder Road Department as well, with reports of pictures and other things that shows that, yes, the bridge has been devastated again. And for now, it's gotten more serious than it used to be. I want to believe that very soon action will be taken on that.
Until such time that the orders of the road minister to get the bridge fixed immediately are carried out, students and other road users risk their lives walking on this danger. Peter Senu for Joy News.
Well, the economy has been unforgiving, but for Johannes and Elijah, abject rural poverty had made it even more unbearable. The double blow of an economic crisis and rural life had done nothing to weaken their resolve to get a better life in the city. They are taking on the odd and are determined to break the vicious cycle of poverty in their families. The first in a series of inspirational stories in the midst of a biting economic crisis, dubbed Stories of Hope. My Mason Yamiche Thompson looks at the exciting journey of Johannes and Elijah.
Welcome to Accra. Here, to survive, one needs to be resourceful, resilient, and master all ingenuities to create a space to call home. Meet 27-year-old Johannes. He aspires to make it big in Accra. He lives in this kiosk in the heart of Spintex, the retail hub.
I ended up here after my senior high school education. Then I called my brother that I needed work, and he said I should come. So when I came, he got me a place. I never know. People used to sleep in wooden structure. I never see some before.
Johannes' journey from KJB was tarred with hope and expectation. A good job to live his dream. The Volta region of KJB for him had become stale.
I want to be a politician. I want to go and do political science.
Okay.
Yeah. But as time goes on, the dream changed.
To?
Yeah, football. So back in school, I used to play. But I've never had it in my mind because it's my passion, but I never thought of being a footballer. But when I come to Accra, I mean, training with people, going to play football at places, I say, nah, things have to change. And I try pushing myself, traveled out of Ghana.
His new estate is crammed with countless wooden structures carved out by dream hopefuls to the pathway of their desired future. And Johannes' home is one out of 140,637 locks to find their feet in the city. The limited access to proper housing forces 8.8 million Ghanaians, 27% of the population, to live in slums. The numbers are likely to go up as the urban centers continue to look attractive to the youth from the hinterlands like Johannes. It is mid-morning in the estates. Johannes and his friend Elijah get ready to go to work at the biscuit factory located about 500 meters from where they live. Their estate is a gold mine of cheap labor for the factories and shops in the neighborhood, which they mine every now and then for their businesses. As a factory mechanic, Johannes earns a little above 1,000 cedis a month. This caters for his rent, remittances to his family, and everyday expenses.
There are a lot of things in my mind to achieve, but here, like the case, I have siblings in school, one in nurses training, recently one completes senior high. So they do call, I may say, our dad is no more. So it's like pressure is on.
With more than 5.4 million residents in Accra trying to make ends meet, Johannes is carefully looking to carve a niche for himself. He's working on opening a bread shop in addition to his factory work.
Where the system push you to, that's where you move. Yes. Now the system is hard. You can't decide to make things comfortable for yourself. It's impossible. Yeah. So when the system strikes, you strike.
The aim is to amass enough money to further his football career outside the country.
I have a work, my hand work, I bake bread. So right now, that's what I want to focus for now. I want to get container and then buy materials and start baking. Then I'll see the way forward. I really won't rely on company money, the place I work, but I see that no, it can't match.
To other stories now, and one of the schools featured in season 2 of Ghana's School of Shame has received furniture to cater for over 400 pupils in the Bakbagba Primary School in the Nanumba North Municipality after government donated 100 dual desks. A licensed cocoa buying company, Fetco, also donated 100 desks. Features editor Jojo Kobna reports that the furniture situation in the school has been permanently solved.
What is happening here is not a festival. The people of Bakbaba in the Nanumba North Municipality are excited. For years, the majority of the children here have been without school furniture. They danced their heart out to celebrate the donation of furniture to their school. But that is the end of the story. Let's go to the beginning. The story of Bakbaba Primary started in April 2023. For years, children in Bakpaba kneel, squat, sit, or sometimes lie on their bellies because they had no furniture. Gifty Odanjo, a pupil in class 5, was compelled to come to school earlier than usual in order to get access to furniture. Access to furniture in the school is on a first-come, first-served basis. Majority of pupils improvise by squatting, lying on their bellies, or assuming weird positions on the floor just to get an education. Gifty could not take it anymore. She burst into tears as she narrated the ordeal they endure daily.
As you can see, some of us don't have uniforms. Even me, I don't have any decent uniform. And we sit on the floor to learn. When it rains, we are compelled to sit in this structure. Because of its size, we are beaten by the rain.
During the rainy season, whenever it rains, it links from the up there. So they have to run into a small room over there. So she coming to school to see her colleagues lying down. When she look at it, she feels sad. So and that was what made her cry. I feel bad.
The Ministry of Education donated 100 dual desks to the school, but the school needed 100 dual desks more. FEDCO, a local licensed cocoa buying company, came to the rescue and donated 100 dual desks to completely cater for the needs of the students.
We thank God for giving us the opportunity to do this for our community.
The furniture was handed over to the Municipal Education Office, and they also handed it over to the school. No child has been left behind. They all have furniture. The cooperative manager of FEDCO, Dr. Bernard Archibald Senyo Ajiman, advised the school to maintain the furniture.
We have resolved to share our profit with the society, not only those in our catchment, but also those beyond our catchment. So when we got the news from Joy News, we felt that these children who are future leaders deserve to have the furniture that is required to promote effective learning. They have also put other support that they required, not for Bakpawa school alone, but schools in the district. We will look at them, and once we have the resources, we will try as much as possible to support them.
Gifty Odanjo is excited.
I am excited that we all have furniture. I will be happier if someone gives me a school uniform. That will be great.
Well, her tears have dried, replaced with a smile. This is the Bakpaba DA Primary School, Primary 5. Last time it was pure disaster here, but now the children get to learn with some dignity. So, Gifty, what do you have to say to all of us?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Joy News partner for Season 2 of Ghana Schools of Shame, School for Life, is also excited that private companies are helping. Amadou Zuliyadin, the advocacy and policy influencing specialist, speaks for School for Life.
Gaps in the delivery of education includes the lack of furniture, lack of infrastructure, that's the classrooms, teaching and learning resources. And it means that the effort that we are witnessing here today can be replicated in other areas so that the furniture situation, the classroom situation can actually be closed to give full meaning of education to children who are schooling in these rural areas or remote areas of Ghana.
The power of a simple story. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Now, the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFEC, is professing ICT Driven Solutions to the myriad of Ghana's developmental needs. The fund hopes the rollout of the Data Transformation Agenda program will augment the government's investment in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM activities. There's more in this report.
GIFEC, with the support of the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, NORAD, the International Telecommunications Union, and Cisco, has rolled out interactive ICT-driven training programs for teachers and pupils in Ghana. Through its Digital Transformation Centers project, which began in 2021, GIFEC hopes to lead the way in helping Ghana find an antidote to its environmental, agricultural, and economic woes through ICT Prof's solutions. Initially designed to develop basic and intermediary ICT skills of beneficiaries, the program has trained over 1,200 children and about 180 trainers, leading to the establishment of 30 coding clubs across the country. They were introduced to STEM-made kits provided by IoT Ghana. GIFEC has adopted the phrase, "Catch them young and they shall be yours forever," to train the next generational thinkers who will use ICT to solve Ghana's issues. Chief Executive of GIFEC, Prince Osu Festival, says the time to cash in on ICT is now.
The computer, all right, is a machine that basically is set up to take some instructions, right? So you tell or you code the instructions, and then you're able to have the computer do what you want it to do. When we talk about coding for kids, we're basically talking about interactive, interesting, creative programs that allow us to expose the children to coding at a very early age. Interest in computing and STEM in general also increases.
He spoke at a graduation program in robotics for over 30 teachers who will in turn train other beneficiaries at Nkwantakesi in the Ashanti region. Alex Kojobo is the National Project Officer for the International Telecommunications Union. He talks about progress made so far on the coding project.
What coding helps us to do is to solve our everyday problems that we see around us. Think of sanitation, transportation, all the problems we see around us, especially for us as developing countries. The role of coding and data transformation is to help use ICT to address some of these.
Some beneficiary teachers shared their experience with Joy News.
We use the code to instruct the device to perform an action, a smart sensors that when you are going to a room, the room will be able to open for you.
From Nkwantakesi in the Ashanti region for Joy News, Ohimitiria reporting.
Chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party's election committee, Professor Mike Aaron Okwe, has issued a stern reminder to all aspirants, urging them to abstain from vote-buying activities as the party prepares for the Superdelegate Congress. Professor Okwe stresses that vote-buying constitutes a criminal offense and the party will go after anyone found culpable in such practices.
With regard to vote-buying and that kind of thing, we are very mindful of such challenges in politics. Those who have the Constitution of the Republic will see that political parties can't just operate. All they do must be in accordance with democratic principles. That is a mandatory provision of our Constitution. And we will ensure that that is done. It is because of such problems that the committee has found it necessary to also ensure that you cannot bring a telephone, because the telephones take pictures. It's not because of calls, it's because of pictures, to where you are going to vote. We make it an offense so that we don't have a situation whereby someone takes a picture of how he or she voted so as to go and sell it to somebody for some financial interest, whatever. So we are mindful of this, and we are doing all we can, reminding the public also that in this good country of ours, vote buying is an offense. It's a criminal offense. If you engage in it, both the giver and the givee will face criminal consequences accordingly. And in fact, it is because we are all to go by democratic principles that we have invited you here. You are stakeholders in the democratic process, the fourth estate of the realm. And we expect you to actually help us to do what is right in this country.
Now, the Chale Water Festival is ushering in a new era at the Blackstar Square, its surrounding avenues, and within the Osu community. This festival, which commenced on Monday, drew a diverse crowd from various corners to partake in a celebration of arts and culture. There's more in this report by Jacqueline and Sumaya.
Currently, we are at the Osu Castle, and yes, it is the 13th edition of the Chale Water Festival. And when we came here, all the people were getting registered, artists were putting up their artworks, and many more. Today is the first day. They are about to start with the procession. So join me as we join them to procession into the Osu town. Okay, so you're about to start with the procession, and I've got a couple of diasporans here. I want to talk to them and find out why they traveled all the way to come here. So, hello, how are you doing?
Hi, fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Can you tell us your name?
My name is Botlhale Boikanyo.
I can't pronounce that. And what's your name?
I love that. Paul.
Paul, thanks for saving me. Anyways, you traveled all the way from South Africa to come to Ghana to witness the Chale Water Festival. Why?
Because this is one of the biggest festivals of its kind in all of West Africa, so we couldn't, wait to come and experience it in person. We are also showcasing a film on Wednesday, so we are quite excited about that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. I am one of the actresses in the film, so we're showcasing the film, The Deal, on Wednesday.
We just want to know more about it. So, can you tell me more about what just happened earlier?
We are processing from the Christian World Council to the Osu Township. Now, as you can see, we have the Osu Ulomo, who is the principal chief Ulomo of the Osu Stu. Yeah. So, you need to, once you are passing to somebody's house, you need to go to the person's house and ask for permission.
Okay, so that was what you did earlier.
We went there for the Ulomo to pray for us so that it will be a successful procession. What is going to be any bad or any negative energy should drive away. Okay. So we went there to pay homage to the ancestors. Okay. So as you can see, we went to the Ulomo's place to pray for us so that we can have a successful procession.
Okay. All right, Ni, I see you have this around your neck. What does it signify? And first of all, what's the name of it?
It's called Isoup. But in the local language, you call it Nyanyina.
Nyanyina?
Nyanyina. Okay. Nyanyina, but that is called Isoup. We are used to drive away negative energies. As we process through a township, there are some bad and negative energies around. So this is in spirituality, it's used to drive away negative energies and also serve as a cleanser for purification.
All right. We also have Miss Bell here. Miss Bell, how are you?
I'm okay.
So how do you see the whole procession so far? It just started.
It's spiritual, and it's going well put together.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And what is I see you having this one. Does it mean anything to you?
It's an African accessory, but yes, you can put some cleansing spirits in there. So as we are walking, if the energy doesn't feel right, you cleanse yourself.
They have to pour libation. It is part of tradition that when you get there, you just have to let them know that you are passing. And secondly, the fact that maybe something bad might have happened at that intersection.
That's why you can see them shaking the bells around. So it's also form part of invocation and communication.
Invoking, so communicating with the spirit.
Exactly, an ancestral word per se. Because as we possess, you don't know any negative energies, as I said earlier on. That's why you see them ringing the bells and doing their stuff.
We have Annie Sabote here, and we just ended with the procession. What next?
What next is that the official ceremony has opened. The paintings are there. We're going to have a film lab today, all the way till 9 p.m. And it's going to continue like that. We have workshops, like we said. We have DJ mixes. We have what they call the Asoko music as well. But for us, it's the intellectual, exchange between the experts that we invited with our local artists to be able to see how their works interact with each other.
Right, yeah. So basically, this is going to be going on for like a week long. The artists would still be here tomorrow to portray.
The arts will be here from today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then Friday night, we take them out. Some will be here.
Are there going to be different artists or?
we have variety of them. A lot more of the works are still being framed. So when you come, they ask them when you come, you see a lot of work.
Someone watching us right now wants to know what they should expect tomorrow.
So tomorrow from 3 p.m. we will be here, and we start with live music, food, and then the movies.
It will still commence around 3 p.m. There won't be activities in the morning.
No, there wouldn't be anything in the morning. We just want to have people to relax a bit and come here in the afternoon. But we also want to tell people that they can still come for the accreditation. For vendors who want to vend, this year we subletted the vending to multimedia, so they can call your channels and then do business with us. Yeah.
All right, sure. And that is Ani Sabute. He's one of the members for the Chaliwate Festival. So just as you heard from him, this is the end of the procession of the day one of the Chaliwate Festival. But it's a week long. We have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and of course Sunday where it ends. So you can still be part of the celebration. You've not been left out yet. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow right here at the Osu Castle. For Joy News, Jacqueline and Suma Yaboa.
And in studio, I am Samuel Kojo Brayson. That's how we wrap up today's bulletin. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. AM News Review is up next. All right, so welcome to the news review segment of the AM show, and my guest this morning is lawyer Kweku Paintil. And lawyer, good morning to you. I hope all is well. All right, so I have with me the Daily Guide newspaper. I have the Finder newspaper. I have the New Crusading Guide and the Economy Times. Okay. Now, on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, we have centralized registration will deprive Ghanaians. And I don't want John Mahama drama. It comes with a photograph of Ms. Bell and former President John Dramani Mahama. Now, the banner headline, 60 billion cedis was technical loss. Bank of Ghana fights back. It comes with a photograph of the governor, Dr. Ernest Addison. NPP ready for Saturday, and it comes with a picture of the vice chairman of the NPP's Presidential Election Committee, Kwabena Bankwa Yeboah, and NDC stages protest against Addison. Okay, so we'll get into those papers. My guest this morning is lawyer Kweku Paintil. Lawyer, good morning to you. Okay, I guess when we get lawyer, we'll bring him up. But let's get into the details of the stories in the Daily Guide newspaper. On page 3, it says 60 billion cedis was technical loss. And the story is written by Ernest Kofi Edu. Now, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has dismissed allegations of central bank mismanagement that resulted in a 60 billion loss last year, asserting the loss is a technical one arising from the haircut and application of accounting standards. Okay, so we'll get into that story. The Finder reports that 12 SHS to offer aviation and aerospace courses next year. Wow. That's according to the minister, Dr. Educhum. But that will be an interesting one, isn't it? Aerospace and aviation. Wow. I can't wait for that to begin. Now, debts written off to cause our loss accumulated since 1992. That's according to BoG. Cost of new headquarters not bloated. $2,068 per square kilometer is competitive. That's according to the Bank of Ghana. Oh, okay. That's how much the land was sold for, huh? Anyway, NPP outlaws private security at Super Delegate Conference. Government pays 85% of debt owed for suppliers, according to the NAFCO. Niger coup, let's use diplomatic interventions, Chief Imam says. That's according to the Finder newspaper. The New Crusading Guide, it says the National Cathedral Project and the 10 Commandments. That story is on page 8. You might want to read it. $250 million, Bank of Ghana head office brouhaha. No procurement law was broken. Governor clears the air. Okay. Family petitions IGP to investigate death of Maxwell Okoto in Akwetia. And Ofosun Cancer supports teachers in Asante Achem Central. Adwejiri installs new chief, and let's live in unity to promote development in Pokuase. Okay, so those are the stories on the front page of the New Crusading Guide. Let me see if I can see what they are reporting on spot. 10-man West Ham stun Chelsea at the London Stadium. Okay, so that's an important story. You might want to read it. 10-man West Ham stun Chelsea at the London Stadium. I think I'll take interest in that story and read a bit of it for you. Now it says, West Ham United claimed a rousing London derby win against big spending Chelsea, despite playing almost 30 minutes with 10 men. Now the Hammers were 2-1 ahead when defender Naif Agued, who opened the scoring with a 7th-minute header, was sent off in the 67th minute for his second bookable offence. But Chelsea could not force an equaliser and then conceded a late third through Lucas Paqueta's penalty in the 5th minute of added time. Okay, so that is the story there. But there's a Ghanaian story here which is interesting. Brighton manager De Zerbi confident in Tariq Lamptey's return. So let's look out for that one. Economy Times, job availability increases by 3.5%. Hey, that's interesting. FDI's value rises marginally end 2022. And Ghana is only ECOWAS country in debt distress. Oh, according to AFDB. Well, that's not a good story, is it? Now, scarcity of jobs in the country has improved slightly for the first half of 2023, according to the Bank of Ghana. For the first 2 quarters of 2023, the total number of advertised jobs in the media, which partially gauges labor demand in the economy, went up by 3.5% to 16,866 from 16,290 recorded during the same period in 2022. The number of jobs advertised increased in June 2023 relative to what was observed in the corresponding period a year ago. In total, 2,993 job adverts were recorded as compared to 2,662 for the same period in 2022, indicating improvement of 12.4% year on year. Now, to the story about Ghana being the only country in ECOWAS in debt distress, it says, and this story is written by Adnan Adams Mohammed. The African Development Bank's newest report, the 2023 West Africa Economic Outlook, ranked Ghana's external debt to GDP to about 39.5% recorded in 2022 as 10% higher than the West African average of 29.6%. Ghana's external debt stood at $29 billion as at end of December 2022, ranking 6th highest on the continent. Now, however, countries such as Cape Verde, Senegal, and Niger that have high external debt to GDP are not in distress, but Ghana is the only ECOWAS country in debt distress. Quote, West Africa's external debt increased from an average of 13.8% of GDP in 2014 so the story continues on page 4, and it says to 29.6% in 2022. The debt accumulation was facilitated by a rise in the issuance of Eurobonds. Eurobonds have been issued by Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Nigeria, and Senegal since 2011, and by Benin since 2019. The West Africa Economic Outlook 2022 noted. So that is the story there with regards to Ghana being the only ECOWAS country in debt distress. Very, very interesting there. Now, the story about FDI's value rising marginally in 2020 says foreign direct investment, FDIs, legally registered in the country have increased slightly in value but declined marginally in volumes at the end of December 2022, according to figures from the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC. From January to December 2022, the center recorded foreign direct investment totaling 1.35 billion US dollars. This compares with a slightly lower figure of approximately 1.29 billion US dollars recorded in 2021, representing an increase of 4.22%. Okay, so lawyer Kweku Pentil is now with us, joining us via phone. Lawyer, good morning to you. Trust all is well. Hello, lawyer.
Yes.
Great to have you. Now,
thank you.
Let's begin from the Daily Guide.
Yes.
It says the 60 billion cedis that was lost by the BoG was a technical loss. Now, the details are that the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has dismissed allegations of central bank mismanagement that resulted in a 60 billion cedis loss last year, asserting that the loss is a technical one arising from the haircut and application of accounting standards. His defense followed criticism from some Ghanaians, including the leader of the opposition National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, who referred to him as a, quote, pliant governor, unquote, seeking to cover up his mismanagement. Quote again, an incompetent finance minister damages the economy and uses COVID-19 and Ukraine-Russia war as cover-ups. A pliant governor destroys the central bank and seeks to use the domestic debt exchange as a cover, unquote, the NDC flag bearer asserted. The minority leader, Dr. K. Salatu Forson, also called for his immediate resignation as well as his deputies. Dr. Addison, on the other hand, has rejected the claims of mismanagement, pointing out that the loss recorded by the central bank is a technical one resulting from the haircut and the application of accounting standards, IFRS 9, to estimate expected credit losses over the tenor of the government debt held by the bank. Lawyer, isn't his explanation, meaningful enough?
The explanation is, with respect, a little funny. Because, see, at the end of the day, a loss is a loss.
Okay.
Whether it's technical, commercial, economic, it's a loss to the country. And the real issue is whether those losses could have been avoided.
Okay.
I believe that's what the debate is about. It's not the name that we give to the loss. It's about whether those losses could have been avoided or somehow scaled down or somehow, one way or the other. And these are some of the issues that come up in this country, and we try to dismiss them and then make it like non-issues. But they are not. They cannot go away. If we are running around the World Bank and other places looking for $3 billion, which lasted for about how many months with conditions and whatever, what it means is that we could have avoided the World Bank journey to begin with. And if somebody had done something right somewhere, possibly we'll be in a better state. So these kind of issues, they call for dispassionate discussions. And if our parliament itself was working well, this calls for some parliamentary inquiries, very, very serious inquiries into these matters to make a determination whether indeed the losses, however they call it, were justified. And somebody has to be answerable. And that's my view of this matter. We just don't leave these things. We just always leave it, make it partisan discussions, and at the end of the day, everybody forgets it. They will go to the next level of loss, the next level of corruption, the next level of this. I think we have tired too much in this country having these matters become non-issues, and then we keep on running around like we don't know what we are doing. So that's my view about this matter. It's not a small matter. It's not something that must be covered up and then we all forget it. It cannot be. So the parliamentarians, they know better and they know what to do. These are issues that people ought to come to parliament. Questions ought to be put and people must answer them. And committees must be set up. This is not a small loss, though. It's not a small loss at all. And nobody must joke with it.
So what's your expectation of how this development must be treated? And kindly mute your Zoom for me so that we pick what's happening on phone.
No, I believe we must set up a parliamentary inquiry, a very serious parliamentary inquiry, must investigate all aspects of this loss and a clear determination made whether it was avoidable, whether heads must roll somewhere, And this is not going to come about from the demonstrations that they are calling. Demonstrations are a political show. Nothing is going to come out of it. He said the man must resign. When he resigns, does that money come back to our coffers? Is that the issue? I believe it's a much more serious issue than demonstration. That's my own view of this matter.
Okay.
So a parliamentary inquiry must be set up concerning this matter. A dispassionate discussion must be had, and an all-round parliamentary this must go into it. That's my view of this matter. I think the political parties said they are joking, not joking.
Okay, Lawyer, kindly unmute your Zoom for me so we can hear what you tell us through the or via the Zoom.
Is that okay?
Okay, so I'll check it. But in relation to that story, NDC stages protest against Addison. The NDC minority in Parliament has written to the Greater Accra Regional Police Command to notify them of an impending protest march against Dr. Ernest Addison, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, on this development. Is that what you are referring as they being jokers?
I mean, within a political class, go on demonstration, and then what? And if he resigns, and then what? That's not resolve the issue. It's a much more serious issue than they're making it seem. Very, very serious issue. So therefore, this matter is going to be resolved by somebody going on demonstration. I'm not denying their right to go on demonstration if they so wish, but I'm saying that this issue is much more serious and requires a much more serious approach than merely embarking on a demonstration to enforce his resignation. It's not the resignation that will resolve. It may be part of so many things, but the real truth is that, please, they are our lawmakers. You see, that's a very interesting thing. People who make laws for us, people who know how to make investigations, people who ought to know what to do, will rather embark on a demonstration and cause chaos and confusion and wherever in town. And then in 1 month's time, this matter lies. And then that's the end of it. And we go back to wherever we all came from and continue to behave like nothing happened. That's what is happening. That's the history of all of these matters in this country, and therefore, at the end of the day, nobody is held accountable. What is a resignation? A resignation will resolve this matter.
Okay. Let's relate it to a story in the Finder. It says cost of new headquarters not bloated. $2,068 per square kilometer is competitive. Now, the Bank of Ghana has rejected accusations that the cost of its headquarters under construction is inflated. And this story is in the Finder newspaper. Now, according to the regulator, the $2,068 per square kilometer cost of the project compares favorably with data from the Africa Property and Construction Cost Guide 2021-2022's $2,658 per square kilometer and 2022-2023 cost of $2,720 per square kilometer as average construction cost for prestige high-rise office spaces in Africa. The BoG pointed out that even though the comparable data from the Africa Property and Construction Cost Guide relate to prestige high-rise office spaces, the unique features of a central bank, including vaults and security installations, rank higher than the considerations for the former. Conspicuously, BoG failed to provide the total cost of the reviewed project to debunk the $250 million cost in the public domain. What do you make of this explanation? That if you look at the guide, we are paying $2,068 as compared to $2,720 for prestige high-rise in Africa.
They say prestige high-rise in Africa, nowhere else. Africa. Corruption is highest in Africa than anywhere else in the world. The popular perception, and unfortunately some of these things feed into reality. The popular perception is that the cost of properties that are done in Africa by government, not private people. I hope that the comparative cost analysis that they were making will be related to private projects. Government projects are much more expensive in Africa, in Ghana. I mean, the kind of money that sometimes we hear is unimaginable. And sometimes you begin to wonder if that same amount was in the hands of somebody else in anywhere apart from Africa, whether we'll be getting the kind of thing. And you see, these things do us no good. That's why, in my honest view, all of these things must be contextualized. This whole thing has been placed within the context of the Bank of Ghana's perceived mismanagement of public funds or public resources. And therefore, it's my honest view that if our parliamentarians took a serious view of this matter and decided to set up a parliamentary inquiry of a sort, then all of these matters can properly be interrogated or properly be investigated or properly analyzed and assessed. I mean, other than that, what we are doing, we are met with these answers. They may be true, but they may also be untrue. So the real truth of this matter, how do you go about this matter? Set up a proper inquiry. This money, over the last year or two, because of social media, we noticed, some comparisons that were being made between our Kutuka airport and an airport, I think, in Eastern Africa, and how these things, they come and they are true. And you begin to ask yourself, what happened? The perception out there is that the politicians have the way of bloating. The word is bloat, B-L-O-A-T. That is to say, they are all kind of things to these things. So at the end of the day, somebody takes money which ought to have bought a Mercedes-Benz car. At the end of the day, he brings a Toyota. And when the thing becomes an issue, he tells you that the Toyota also not a car. But that is misleading. The issue is not whether we set out to buy a car, but a particular car. The money that we say we use it for this particular project, is it truly? Could it have been less? Could it even have been halfway? Or what did we do really to ensure that we got value for what we asked for? Which is all what public procurement is about. Value for money. And if you put in 100,000 to buy something which is 50,000, come on, did you exercise your discretion well? So that will go a long way to go. But my honest view of this issue goes back to my first remark, which is that let there be a proper inquiry into this matter. Parliament knows what to do if they really feel serious about this matter. They know what to do. Nobody is going to take us for a ride and make us believe that going on demonstration and asking the governor to resign will answer for us the real issues at stake. Thank you.
All right. Let's turn to a rather inspiring story. Now, beginning next academic year, 12 senior high schools will offer courses in aviation and aerospace. Dr. Yawase Duchum, Minister of Education, has announced. The initiative, according to him, forms part of efforts to promote science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education in the country to enable Ghanaian students to compete in the fourth industrial revolution. The ministry announced this at the Fiakobi and Pem Girls Senior High School, which is credited as the first SHS in Ghana to have developed a miniature airplane as part of its engineering exploits. But this is good news, isn't it? How do we ensure that, we succeed at this, to ensure we have 12 senior high schools implementing aerospace and aviation courses at the senior high school level?
I think it's a very, very laudable idea. How to make it work will be the work of the technical people. But it appears that our education has been stereotyped. Our education has always been remained the whole thing. We have always been behind, our education. I remember way back, about 1972, thereabout, science was not even available in our elementary schools. They were not available. You go to secondary school, the first time that somebody is talking about science, and you begin to wonder what is science, and they teach you science. It's the careful study of things around us. Way back in those days, we didn't know science till you go to secondary school. So I'm quite elated by the suggestion that this type of education is going to be offered at this level, and we hope that as they start it and as they develop it, hopefully in some few years to come, we also become competitive. An aspect of our education will be ghetto, because that is what the next level of development and everything is going. And as we can see, there is a rush into space for all kinds of things. Well, for us, I do not know. We've always had the atomic energy since 1960s, and I don't even know whether Ghana competes with countries with that type of facility. So it's not just starting it, but how we're able to move that level of education to our national development and so forth and so on. So I do not know really the technical details, but I can only commend the minister for his hard work and hope that something really good comes out of this. Because I know, for instance, that over the few years, there's something we call STEM education. STEM education. I know it is working. They have set it up. Except that I think what they have are pilot projects that they are doing in the hope that they will spread it all over the country after some few years. But from what I've heard so far, I think they are working successfully. And if this thing is added, I'm sure it's another layer of that development of our education system. So I have nothing but commendation.
But you know, in the implementation process, you know, in this country, we all have fantastic ideas. But when it comes to implementation, that's where the challenge is. So for it not to suffer the fate of projects that we've had in this country, what are the steps that we need to take to ensure that we are having an effective implementation of such a fantastic idea?
Well, I believe we have I cannot speak directly to this point, but I believe we've got the technical men. In other words, the technical people. The Minister of Education has got all the facilities, has got all the people. Our universities have the resources. I'm talking about human resources. I'm talking about personnel who are driving this project. And that's about it. How holistic it will be and how effective it will be. I'm just assuming for the purpose of our discussion that they've got everything on the drawing board, and possibly when it takes off, we'll be able to access it from afar, from wherever we find ourselves, and be able to access it maybe on some regular basis to determine whether we are making the right thing. But what happens is that we have people, or rather technical people, who are bound in this country, but sometimes putting them together to achieve results is also part of the problem that we have in this country. It's like, let me show you my own reflection of how I see a lot of things in this country. You see, it is the MPP government which is in power, and the politics that we run in this country appears to be like, oh, if this is an MPP project, then let them go on with it. However educated, however knowledgeable some professor who subscribes to the other party is, then he may not be part of it. Because being part of MPP success story will somehow influence or affect their own politics. It is part of the problem we have in this country. I'm not saying that it is responsible for any particular thing, but I've seen this thing work out in so many ways in this country. So maybe I'm speaking to somebody who has the knowledge, who has the technical know-how, but somehow feels alienated from the politics of the MPP, and therefore have resolved that he will never be part of it. Because it's only when we come together as a country that we can put in things and proceed. And I need to say this, even though the question they asked me is a harmless question. Let me put it this way. You know, Ghana, we are so polarized. The word is polarized along political lines that it affects and influences and everything that we do. And I'm calling on people to look up. Last time I gave this example on this thing. Even in countries, I mean, look at Israel, look at Brazil, look at, when they go on demonstrations, they don't use party flags, they use the national flag, showing that all the people who are concerned with it have got nothing to do with politics, got nothing to do with party politics. They come together because it's a national interest that they are defending. But in this country, everything must be divided into straight lines as to who joins what queue and so forth and so on. It affects our policy. Because somebody believes that if, for instance, he comes on board, you are seen to be part of the implementation of this particular project, and he does not belong to the party, his own party people will call him names and stuff. So
Okay.
please, yes.
Okay. All right. If you can do this for me in a minute, I'll be happy. Now, on page 3 of the Economic Times, there's a story there. Soaring food energy prices push 15 million Africans into poverty. Now, some 15 million people in Africa were pushed into poverty in 2022 due to high food and energy prices, the African Development Bank has reported. However, the bank indicated that the poverty effect of energy price increases was higher than food prices. This was because the energy impact was fully passed through household income, while the negative impact of high food prices was partially offset by increases in household income from net sellers. Quote, in Africa, the additional number of people falling into extreme poverty due to energy price inflation is estimated at 10.2 million, bringing the combined poverty effect of soaring food and energy prices to about 15 million people, the bank noted. Your reaction in just a minute.
Yeah, I should speak in a minute. You know, the Bible, Jesus said, as for the poor, you shall continue to have them with you. There will always be poor, there will always be pushed into poverty. But at the end of it, it's about what the government does. I personally believe that the energy prices that we pay for, we are not paying for efficiency. Half of the things that we pay for is due to inefficient operation of all of these things that we have around us. So that at the end of the day, what we pay for 100 cities could as well be 40, could as well be 50 cities. But here, I mean, that's the way it is. And we absorb all of these things as part of the cost that they push on to us. So it's all about efficiency. I personally believe that if our public institutions, I mean electricity corporation in particular that we're talking about, if they become more efficient, possibly we'll be paying for less. So that's the way I just want to add this one. But like I said, I mean, the poor will always be with us, and there are people who still don't have electricity because they themselves do not know how to rise up. Maybe they want free electricity like free education. But free education has come. I don't know whether free electricity will ever come. Yes.
All right. Lawyer, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. All the best for the morning.
You're welcome.
So that's Lawyer Kweku Pencil there. And that's how we wrap up the review. We're grateful to our sponsor. But before I go, good morning to Nana Kwesi Kumsen. Today is your birthday. Nana is the PRO for the Western Music Awards. And he works with the ECG as well. Nana Kwesi Kumsen, happy birthday to you, brother. Nyame unshira papa. You know you're a great guy, so may God continue to bless you. Now, to Mr. Richmond K. Alamu, Manager, Asset Integrity and Maintenance, Gas Processing Plant at Twabo. Yesterday was your birthday. A blessed, belated birthday to you as well. We're grateful to you for watching. We'll take a quick break. When we go back, when we return, we'll bring you sport. But let's say thanks to our sponsors of the news review, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening at various locations. In Accra, we are at Spintex opposite Health signboard in Kumasi, Chronom Abuehia behind Angel Educational Complex. In Takrady, we are at the Anaja Estate, Tema at Community 22. In Techiman, we are at Hanswa. And in Nzima area, we are in Esiama. Call us 0244867068 or 0274234321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic diseases. Well, we'll take a quick break. Stay with us. Up next is sports.
Good morning to the world of sports now on the AM show. I am Muftau Nabila Abla. The Ghana Football Association presidential aspirants appeared before the vetting committee ahead of the organization of the football governing body's elective congress on September 27. President Kate Okreko, who is seeking for a tenure from the stakeholders within the Ghana Football Association, says that he's very confident when he's presented to the committee will be accepted and approved for him to have his name appear on the ballot paper.
Just gone through our vetting. The vetting, obviously, is a statutory requirement and put together by the Elections Committee, which is an independent committee of the FA. And each one of us, obviously, will have to go through. I would say that it was good. There were a lot of questions for my good self, but basically it's about the statutory provisions on your forms, whether indeed you signed the forms, whether you have met the statutory requirements on the form, i.e. the member who proposed you, and the 5 required members who are needed to support your application. And then obviously you have to go through the integrity session, whether you've made your tax returns. So if you don't pay your tax, you are in trouble. And whether you've not made any false declaration whatsoever in relation to this opening. So I think that it was smooth. I'm very confident that given what I shared, I'll go through successfully, and then we'll be ready for the elections. Like I say all the time, football will always speak, and today football has spoken, and football will speak on the 27th of September.
Now let's hear from George Efree. He's been eulogizing the members of the committee headed by Bernard Ashale, and he says that many had suggested he was going to be disqualified from contesting for the position of president of the Ghana Football Association. With the integrity of members of the committee, he's confident that he will go through.
The integrity of the personnel or the gentlemen on the committee are very high. I personally, before going into this vetting, did a background check on them, and I realized that these are people who will do their job diligently. These are people who don't have any personal hidden agendas, in spite of some of the things that I've heard before going into this vetting. I'm sure it was already out there that you'll be disqualified. I mean, if you are the media, you've heard it several times. But I believe in them. The questions were normal questions, was about football. And as you are already aware, this is not the first time I've gone through vetting. This is my 5th vetting. I've done vetting when I first contested for the executive committee position. I've done vetting from 2005 all the way down. And in 2019, I went through vetting. So vetting is normal, and it was an engaging. I mean, these were questions related to football. And to me, I answer the questions to the best of my abilities. And I think that I've given them an insight, very insightful conversation. It's been a very insightful conversation. And the rest is left to them to do their job.
To athletics now, and let's hear from Ghana's record long jump athlete Deborah Aqua. She says that jumping 6.50, which is less than what she did at the Commonwealth Games about a year ago, where she jumped 6.94 meters to win a bronze medal, was due to the fact that she's been nursing an injury since the World Athletics Championships in Oregon last year. According to her, members of the Ghana Olympic Committee had promised to help her with treatment, but unfortunately, the help never came. And she says the jump of 6.50 was expected from her.
I think my performance, even though it wasn't expected, I was expecting it. Like, not to say that I wasn't prepared to do whatever that happened, yesterday, but looking at the whole of last year coming into this year with this whole injury, no help coming from anybody, it was very challenging because I ended up having to take care of my own self, spending money on this same injury, and then still not, seeing any improvement. So I decided to call it a quit. Like, I decided to not come to the World Champs because it got to a point where it was both my Achilles. So I had to talk with my coach, and then he was like, he think I should, get the season over it. And then I got to a point where it was just one Achilles. So I was like, okay, I think I can make, if one is okay, then I should be able to get the other one. But then it still wasn't working. So I was like, okay, then I had to call it a quit. So I was out of practice for like a month, and then came back I still wasn't seeing any improvement. So I was like, okay, you know what? I think I should listen to the coaches. I did, and I had to come back again. I had to come back again. It was still the same. So at this point, I was like, you know, the season's almost, close to an end. So I should just come and then do what I can do. So that was my best.
That was her best, she says. Later today is the final of the 1,500 meters, and Kenya's Faith Kipyegon, who is the defending champion of that, and also she broke 3 world records in the space of 2 months before the World Athletics Championships. The 1,500 meters, where she did sub-3, and also the 5,000 meters, as well as the mile. Now, she says that she's looking forward to lifting gold. Her focus is not just on records, but also lifting the ultimate crown, which is the gold medal.
I feel good. I'm happy to qualify to the finals on Tuesday, and I'm looking forward.
Yeah. You're here to defend your title. There are other people coming for your title. What's the competition like out there?
It's not easy. It's a very tough competition, and everybody just comes here to execute and get that gold medal. And for me, I just hope for the best to defend my title, of course, and run a beautiful race.
I mean, would you say this is probably the best year in your career in terms of the way you feel? Because with all these records you're breaking, and now should we be looking forward to maybe you bettering the previous world record?
For me, this is all about the championship. It's not all about the world record. It's all about the gold medal, and that is what all athletes are coming for. So for me, it's just to be myself and run my best.
First time you'll be doubling, you've not done it before. Do you think it will affect your race, the final tomorrow? Or are you looking towards the 5,000?
For me, my whole focus is into 1,500. I don't focus fast before the 1,500. So after the 1,500, we will see what is possible. I know I'm doubling, but just the big fish is 1,500.
2 golds?
I don't know. Let's see how the race will be. Yeah.
Has Aline told you that you need to bring 2 gold medals home? What has she told you?
She told me first to execute in 1,500 and see what will be possible. Yeah.
And Faith, why do you think you're running faster now? I mean, you've been running these events all this while. Why do you think you're running faster this year?
I think because of training. I did my training knowing that it's still big fish ahead of us, which was this World Championship, and just being disciplined in what I do. Yeah.
Faith Kipyegon then speaking, and she's going to be flying high the flag of Kenya when the 1,500 meters gets underway later today. But now let's hear from Olympic champion Marseille Jacobs. Since the last Olympics in Tokyo, he's not been himself. After running 9.80 meters to win a gold medal in the Tokyo Olympics, he's never actually competed in the final of a major athletic competition. He says many people are talking trash, and that he claims has gotten to him psychologically.
But I'm not scary, I'm here, I want to compete. You know, no competition this year. It's really difficult. Arrive here from the World Championship, the really hard semi-final, but I'm happy to be here.
And do you know what? You saying that a lot of people talk, sometimes it's not kind. So what are you doing to protect your mental health? Because I know it can't be easy.
Yeah, it's not easy because you know, I think the other guy know what difficulty is when you are a problem, you are difficult, you have an injury, but they like to talk too much, but it's okay. I try to focus on myself, to recover faster, and try to beat them when I'm in good shape.
I love that. So what positives are you going to take from being here, being in Budapest? You know, what positives are you going to take now going forward on your journey?
Oh, the positive thing is I'm here. I'm here, I compete, I'm in a good shape, not really good shape because I'm not the real me, but I compete. This is important. Now we have the relay, we are the Olympic champion, we have to take the final and try to do the best. And of course my season not finish here. I want to try to go to another Diamond League in China to try to take the points for Eugene for the final and go with these guys and beat them.
And still on athletics, and Côte d'Ivoire's Ahuri Dams, she says this year's World Athletics Championship is the worst of her career because she failed to make it to the final of the competition.
Absolutely shocked and devastated. This is probably the worst championship of my entire career. I don't even understand how it happened. You know, I'm trying to see run back through the race. I know my start was not good. I know that my transition was not where it was supposed to be. So because of that, I didn't set myself up properly for me to be able to make it through. So I will have to go back with my coach and sit down and, you know, look at the tape and then see everything that happened. It's not the end of the world. Yes, this year has been probably the hardest year in my entire career, and of course, I'm a competitor. I want to win. I want to fight. You know, you guys will always see me fighting. So this is not the end of the world. It's okay. Of course, for me, it's not okay, but I have to move on and refocus my mind now for the 4x1 because we have a huge job to do. You know, we are the only African nation in this relay, so it is so important for me, you know, as the captain, to gather my sisters. You know, even if it didn't work for me, it's okay. You know, I'm strong. I want my sisters to be able to do well, to continue, so that we can all be strong and come back stronger for this 4x1, and hopefully, you know, God willing, make history for Africa.
This is how we wrap up AM Sports here with me, Prof. Nabila Abdullah.
All right, welcome back, and let's do our big stories now. And the Upper East region is something that they've been going through a lot of issues. For example, elephantiasis is a huge issue. That we'll be delving into that story here on the show as well. It's an interesting conversation that you'd want to stay with us. But let's talk about the Bank of Ghana issues. The Governor, Dr. Ernest Addisons, has been giving, you know, reasons as to why they recorded that 60.8 billion cedis loss. He's been explaining that it's because of, you know, technical losses and not really because of mismanagement. Now, let's share with you what they have been saying at a press conference yesterday. Now, it says the Bank of Ghana's 2022 financial statement results reflect the crisis that hit the economy in that year. And not as because of their mismanagement. The statement also continues that if you look at the result of the prudent economic management, Bank of Ghana's profit in 2019 to 2021, this is how it looks like. Now, in 2019, they recorded a profit of 1.6 billion cedis. In 2020, it reduced to 1.5 billion cedis. So probably it should have told us that something, you know, wasn't that right because the profit margin was reducing. And then in 2021, Bank of Ghana recorded a profit of 1.4 billion cedis. Now, so after they recorded that, what was the impact of COVID and Russia-Ukraine war to, you know, the Bank of Ghana's balance statement? Now it says, significant part of the annual borrowing was allocated to debt service and energy payment obligations. External debt service and energy payments increased to 4 billion annually as at 2020. So that was how much we needed to, you know, service our debt and to pay for, you know, our energy consumption. Bank of Ghana lost $500 million in external reserves in 2 months. So in 2 months, the Bank of Ghana lost $500 million. No new foreign financing until July, when Afrexim Bank stepped in to support with $750 million US. You remember the story, right? You know, when we were in some crisis and then the Afrexim Bank came to our aid. So that's what the Bank of Ghana is saying. Now, let's move on and tell you what more they have been sharing with us as well. Now, once we were in that crisis, the Bank of Ghana and the government turned to the IMF for support. Now, the Ghana approached IMF for support in July 2022 after economists had said you needed to go to the IMF earlier on. But Ghana said we weren't going to go to the IMF because we were okay. But when our balance of payment became something that was unsustainable, we knew that the only option was to go to the IMF. Now, IMF agreed to the Bank of Ghana, agreed that the Bank of Ghana provide necessary support to keep the economy running because the economy could not, crash. So the BoG had to come in there. The BoG supported the economy until the IMF program concluded. This is testament of the resilience of the BoG as a lender of last resort. So that is the explanation the BoG is offering, that when we're in crisis, it was the BoG that supported the economy until the IMF came to our rescue. Despite losses incurred by households, banks and financial institutions, threshold of 55% of GDP was not met. So that was a requirement for us to get the IMF program, that our debt to GDP was supposed to reduce to 55%. Now, the finance minister wrote to BoG with proposed 50% haircut on BoG holdings of government debt. The BoG acted in good faith for the broader interest of the economy. That's what the Bank of Ghana is saying. That's what they did. So, the Bank of Ghana's current financial state's condition will not impact negatively on the operations of the bank, of the bank, because that's what some people have been saying, that it's a source of worry where we are. But the BoG is saying that no, you don't need to worry. Everything is under control, that our condition will not affect our operations. So that's what they're saying. But let's try and break these issues down. We're being joined by Professor John Gatsi. He's Dean of the UCC School of Business, to help us analyze all of these issues and more here. We'll also be being joined by his counterpart in the, we'll be joined, we'll get him on the line as well, but we've been joined by Professor John Gatsi. He is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast School of Business. Prof, good morning to you. Transall as well.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I'm sure you've apprised yourself with, the Bank of Ghana's justification of the 60 billion loss there. What do you make of their justification?
I think the justification is problematic. Losses are not events that do not happen to institutions. But how you explain the losses to your stakeholders matters a lot. That will carry your stakeholders with you to support you, expecting that it will turn things around. I think the governor tried to do that in part of the statement, which was good. But along the line, he went into the fray of trying to defend the indefensible. Now, number one, he claimed that the bank was not set up to make profit, so that if we do not exceed profit coming from the Bank of Ghana, we shouldn't worry. But at the same breath, he tried to project to us profit in 2019, profit in 2020, profit in 2021. For what reason? Then he went on to tell us that the financing of the new building they are putting up was from the appropriation of profit made in 2019, 2020, and 2021. So what is the governor telling us? So I think something happened in the Bank of Ghana, which the governor knows was actually not correct. We have gone overboard. The law is made in such a way that economic activities, financing activities will have to be put in the perspective of the law. The law is very clear. The 5% of a previous year's tax revenue can be lent to government. In times of crisis, let the finance minister, let the governor, and the controller and accountant general meet and determine what is feasible to give to the government to finance the difficulty. We never heard these three people come out to tell us that because we're in crisis, we aren't going to use the 5%, we are going to use 20, we are going to use 30. They never said that. So they were just in the frail of lending money to government, providing support to government. Any request that the government made, they are ready to carry it on. Now, it is professional difficulty
well Prof,
to see that.
As for that point, they say that the IMF asked them to support the economy in the interim.
Please, IMF is not the sovereign of this country.
Okay.
The sovereign of this country is structured in such a way that we have executive, we have the judiciary, and we have parliament. And parliament has been made to have oversight responsibility of our finances in the country. It's not a matter of IMF. It's a matter of whether you show fidelity to your laws. So as for IMF matter, let us not bring it into the discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. So going forward, I think you have taken away my thoughts a little bit, but let me go on. So that is how the arrangement ought to be. But it seems independence, which should have determined that the Bank of Ghana is indeed the lender of last resort. And professionally, you should be doing any support to government with the eye on protecting that lender of last resort. Okay, now look at it. Bank of Ghana has has supported government activities to the extent that Bank of Ghana cannot set a 15 billion Ghana cedis to support ailing banks. Where is the protection of that lender of last resort? Bank of Ghana was financing activities that they claimed was legitimate, and they were not protecting their ability to ensure that their capital base is protected. And the audit report is saying that Bank of Ghana needs capitalization. So what is the professionalism to protect that lender of last resort? These are the issues that people are asking. Now, the Bank of Ghana is now saying that they made technical losses. There's nothing like technical losses. If you make loss, it's a loss. What is important about a loss is that you have opportunity to explain to your stakeholders for them to appreciate whether this is a one-off event that will go away within a year, within 2 years, within 3 years, within medium term or long term. So that is how losses are supposed to be identified and explained to the stakeholder. You don't come out and to say that we are not set up to make profit. That one we all know. But when you make profit, you are happy, you are allocating the profit to finance your new building. And you want us to believe that you are not in business to make profit. Therefore, any losses can be acceptable. No. There's nothing like technical losses. We all know the provision of IFRS 9. In fact, you also need to add 7 to 8 because that talks about interest, income, and thereabout. We know the provisions on impairment, disclosures, and the rest. So you just apply the accounting standard and you make losses. So you should accept that you make losses on account of your operation. The investment that the Bank of Ghana made in government instrument is part of its operations, and they make losses, and that have been disclosed in line with the IFRS 9 and the impairment made. But the only thing we are saying is that if you look at the convoluted nature of governance and the Bank of Ghana being a public institution, if you are going to make impairment of your assets beyond a certain level, something should trigger you that you need to go to Parliament for Parliament to support that. That is where the beef is. So these are the issues that Bank of Ghana should address 8 months. But to say that the loss you have made is called technical losses, it doesn't affect your operations and the rest. For God's sake, the reason why we do financial statement analysis, we do reporting, etc., is to assure the stakeholder that the entity is managed well. And
but that's their point, isn't it? That they manage the institution well. The losses were not because of mismanagement, but it's because of what happened to the economy. And they're explaining that
the loss is as a result of mismanagement. I told you that the Bank of Ghana has opportunity to lend 5% or to support government about 5% of previous years' tax revenue.
That is true.
Now, in times of trouble, the three individuals, finance minister representing government, and the controller of accountant general, and the governor should determine. What have they determined? The law didn't say that in times of trouble they should just be supporting. They should just be supporting. No, that's not what our law says. So those are the issues we're saying. So if you are minded about the independence and your duty of last lender, you will not just be giving the money until it's finished. It is only when IMF came in that break was applied and imposition was made on both government and the IMF not to borrow. Because the IMF knows that the problem of central bank and part of the fiscal dominance that we have experienced is as a result of lending without recourse to the law. So that should be very clear.
But when the economy is in distress and it needs saving, must the law, be the supreme interest here when the economy is in distress?
The law is supreme. That's why the law make it so flexible for you that 3 of you meet and determine. And when you determine, what will you do? You go to Parliament within 7 days. That's what the law says. And the Parliament, you go and explain to Parliament, and the Parliament agrees with you, you come and implement. If Parliament does not agree with you and you think that your position is superior, you do what is proper to convince them to agree. So it's just a violation, a spirit that has happened. So nobody can say that the law has given them a chance to do whatever we want to do. No, that is a break. And that break is what we have not respected. And let all of us appreciate that we are not saying that in the life of an institution, you will not make losses. But to make a loss of 60 billion in 1 year is so colossal that if you are going to explain, you must explain to convince the people. You must not explain to tell the people that they don't know anything.
Prof, so are you not convinced by them saying that the finance minister wrote to the BoG with a proposed 50% haircut on BoG's holdings of government debt, and that is why this loss came about? It's because of the debt exchange program and not because they lost the money in trying to support government, isn't it?
Who told you that the Bank of Ghana cannot negotiate that proposal? It's not an imposition, it's a proposal. Who told you the Bank of Ghana cannot negotiate that to 20%? Who said that?
If they had negotiated, we couldn't have gotten the IMF deal, wasn't it?
No, who says that the Bank of Ghana cannot negotiate to get 20%? And who says that the central bank should be heavily exposed to government instrument. Of course, that is necessary, but you need to match your risk level to what you are doing. So it's as if we are trying to agree with the central bank that you can do anything. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. And to make a loss of 60 billion 1 year, and you are saying that it's just a technical loss, it's just a book loss. It is not true. Is the money from the debt exchange, are they going to recover it? So you don't come and then try to insult all of us by saying that it's a technical loss. Try to get us to be on the same page with you. Try to get us to be on the same page with you and stop the unnecessary justification.
Okay.
I like the bit that the governor says that they have plans to recover.
Okay.
They have plans to return to normalcy. They have plans to strengthen the role of the central bank. I like that aspect, but trying to say that you have not done anything, you are so angelic in the performance of your duty, I think is not the best. And,
Prof, let's break it down. Let's break it down for people who are not, financially inclined as you are. When we say a technical loss in the perspective of the central bank, what does it mean?
I don't understand it because I feel it's just a word used to confuse the public. We know how financial statements are prepared. And if you are not interested in financial statement, then it's as well should be income and expenditure. Okay. So I told you about the provision of IFRS 9.
Yeah.
And I will add IFRS 7 to it. We know what it tells us, the disclosure, the classification of asset, liability, the measurement, and the impairment, etc.
Yeah.
When those things catch up on you, they will eat into your profit and you will come to losses. So you can't be calling it any other name. You can't call it any other name. And anybody who says that the financial situation of the central bank will not have a toll on the ability of the central bank to perform its duties might be joking. Might be joking. If they were not to make profit in 2019, 2020, 2021, how would they be financing the project they are doing? How would they be going for supervision, which they have quoted so much expenditure there? How would they be doing that? How would they be doing that? In any case, all the Bank of Ghana has done, has they disclosed to us the measures they have taken so far to protect the economy, the optimum inflation level they expected to attain. Have they attained that? Have they protected the reserves? So there are a lot of issues that we need to do. But I feel so sad that this banter is going on between the public and the bank, and for which the bank is relentless in trying to justify its position. I believe that we need to raise this matter for the Bank of Ghana to focus to do its work.
Okay.
Because the bank is so crucial to economic development, is so crucial to ensuring stability in the financial landscape. Right now, there is trouble in the financial landscape. We need to allow the Bank of Ghana to focus on that. But I believe they need to think proper and realize that they are not doing themselves good. As they come to give these explanations, it doesn't gel with people, and people will come up again, and the matter continues. And it's not good for a central bank to go into the headlines for more than a month. It's not the best.
Okay. What conditions must necessitate the writing off of debt, on the books of the central bank?
You see, if you take the financial reporting standard, especially 9, you think that it's so simple to do. I think that it's very simple when the government of Ghana is indebted to a private company. The government of Ghana can write to the private company, and the private company consider it, and if they are satisfied, they write it off. But when it comes to government and government institution, and that government institution need to have oversight from Parliament, and especially when the amount of money involved in the write-off is so huge. You see, it's only proper to realize that you need to go to another body to approve, and that is Parliament.
Okay.
So if government will just simply write to Bank of Ghana to write off, and they write off, what will government be doing? They write to the next SOE, they write to another SOE, they write to another independent institution that they are indebted to, and that is a messy situation. So I think the property was not done, and that is where the noise is about. Do you think that if the Bank of Ghana contacted Parliament and explained the peculiar situation to them, and Parliament agrees, now Parliament, Bank of Ghana, and government would have been on one side against the public. But now Parliament is not satisfied with the situation, and government and Bank of Ghana are on one side. So I think laws are made to be able to shape things and protect institutions and protect actions that are taken. Okay. So if you decide not to follow it, these are some of the problems that it creates.
So it means that Bank of Ghana would have been okay if it got Parliament to approve the writing off of the debt of government.
Yes, what will we be discussing? We can only shout, and that will be the end, because they have received the authorization.
Okay. Okay. Now, the Bank of Ghana is also saying that, you know, it has sufficient capital amounting to about 15% of its total liabilities, and therefore, you know, everybody should remain calm. You doubt the governor is saying?
The audit report supersedes the statement of the governor.
Okay.
Because when the audit was done, the governor was given chance to provide explanations, etc. Those explanations were not found to be the case. That is why we see those things in the audit report. So the audit report is telling us that the liabilities of Bank of Ghana is more than the assets of Bank of Ghana. That is what we know from the audit report. And the purpose of audit is to give us assurance that whatever the preparers of the financial statement, that is the directors of the banks and the top management of the Bank of Ghana, have prepared and presented to them. It is prepared in accordance with the standards, and the things that they have identified were explained sufficiently, and then it is acceptable. So for us to read something from the auditor report, and the governor is telling us something different now, I think that is problematic. That is problematic. The bit I like is that the governor is telling us that they have plan. Of course, that plan needs to be disclosed somehow to ensure that we limit the losses as we go along. I think that is the explanation we should be giving.
So is it your fear that in all the assurance that the governor is giving, the Bank of Ghana may not be able to undertake its primary role as a result of what has happened?
What is the primary role of Bank of Ghana?
It has to develop monetary policies.
Price stability, economic development. So what is the result of the price stability effort? It has moved us into 43% inflation. exchange rate has moved us from 6 cedis to about around 1150. Interest rate, I think, has moved us from around 14.5% to around 30% policy rate. Lending rate is high. So, is it the case that the crisis, without the intervention of Bank of Ghana, should have led us to 70% inflation, 80% interest rate, exchange rate of 25 cedis to the dollar, and through the intervention, they have been able to get what they have for us. So that will help us to determine whether what they have done has yielded any result. Look at the reserve side. It's fragile. So what at all has the policy mandate of the Bank of Ghana achieved significantly? I think that ought to be explained. We don't need to just say that we are policy solvent. Policy solvent how?
All right. So going forward, what must we do to ensure that the Bank of Ghana is saved from all of this? We know that in the next couple of years, there will be, the IMF says, zero financing of government budget. Beyond that, what must be done so that we don't come back to this whole development again?
I think we need to state emphatically that, you see, the Bank of Ghana is a sovereign institution. And we can't have a Bank of Ghana that will not support government activities. That one, I think, is something that IMF is imposing, which is not practicable. They did the same thing in 2015, and the wisdom displayed by Parliament put it at 5%, instead of they desiring that it should be 0%. So Parliament put it at 5%. And I do not think that we should pass a law to make it zero, financing. No. By all means, you need the Bank of Ghana support in financing activities of government.
Okay.
But what has been the situation is that the situation is the issue of independence of the central bank. Central bank is not independent. So the moment the small pressure by the finance or the fiscal authorities, they bow. So if we have a central bank that is actually independent and focus on professional mandate,
okay,
you cannot be financing everything for the IMF to put it into this situation. So it's because we are not obeying the law. That is the reason why the central bank is asked to do zero financing. And I'm emphasizing that the IMF knows that that is the single most important cause of our problem. So that is why they want to stop that. But it's against our sovereignty. And I don't think the parliamentarian to buy into that.
Well, so how do we ensure the independence of the central bank, if that's a problem we need to deal with?
That one is about the governance and the directors. That is the job they have to do.
But a governor is appointed by a president who has, a government that is in charge of an economy to run. So the governor will definitely have some soft spot for the president because he appointed him. Isn't that the case?
See, if you look at the structure of the law of Bank of Ghana about the appointment and removal of the governance, you realize that it is protective of the governance.
Okay.
It is made in such a way that you don't fear anything in applying the principles of independence. Because if the position is not protected, it is then that you will say that if I do this, if I don't bow, if I don't comply, I'll be sacked the next day. But nobody can sack any governor by announcing that I've sacked you. No, nobody can do that. There are processes, and those processes are so stringent, and it demands a lot of proof to be able to remove a governor. So the law has made it possible for the governors to act independently. And if they are not acting independently, that one is their own problem.
No, but if their own problem gets all of us into the situation we find ourselves, then we can no longer sit you know, and watch on for them to keep doing that. So then there needs to be a way we can ensure the independence of the central bank. Is there no way?
Independence of the central bank is solidified, is protected through the appointment of the directors, through the appointment of the governors. And their position is so that you cannot remove them by any means at all. You must only remove them by stated reasons, which are verifiable and through a process. And that alone should be enough to tell you that you have a protection at your back. You should be bold to tell the finance minister that this request that you are making will have this repercussion on us, and that we are sorry we are not able to meet it. That is how it is. I don't know how else we can protect the governance to be able to function, unless the political parties have something else. They are threatening them in private, and they feel that if they don't do it, they are coming to kill them, etc. Perhaps that is the only reason why we can engage in this kind of lack of independence that we have observed.
Well, if they had, you earlier said that the request by the finance minister for the bank to, you know, get us that 50%, they should have lobbied and beaten it down to say 20%. That could still have not allowed us to get the IMF, and the economy would have been in dire straits as we speak. Where we are now is better than where we were about 4 months ago. Shouldn't we consider the health of the economy in such instances than to say that we want the central bank to have a positive outturn and so, look, beat it down, even if it's going to cost the economy?
I think you're not getting me.
Okay, let me get you.
I didn't say that we want the central bank to get a positive outcome by all means. What I'm saying is that a central bank can record losses.
Yeah.
And those losses will be explained. In fact, if it's not even huge, people will not take note of that and start questioning. So losses can indeed exist, but it might have reason why the losses occur, and those reasons should resonate with the stakeholders. But now the reason is not resonating with the stakeholders. So that is one. Then the other one is that all these things would have had a shield of protection for the central bank if we were to seek parliamentary approval.
Okay.
We will not be discussing what we are discussing today if everybody realized that Parliament has approved what the central bank
did.
In fact, when you put together all the statements the central bank is giving, they are conflicting one another. The one they just released before this one is conflicting. So I think that is just that we are saying.
Okay. All right. So that's Professor John Gatsi. He's Dean of the University of Cape Coast School of Business. Prof, so from where we are now, what would be your recommendation to the governor himself as to how, you know, he can turn the things around for the central bank?
I think that is his job. He should articulate that. I think he has indicated that there are plans to, gradually ease the negative that we have recorded. He has plans to protect the central bank. Sometimes the plan cannot be in your mind. If we go to the website of the Bank of Ghana, we need to see some of those things trickling down, not the old things that we have seen.
Okay.
All the Bank of Ghana should be magnanimous a little bit to open up to tell us what is being done to ensure a particular roadmap for the Bank of Ghana. I think I stated that statement that we are not created to make profit shouldn't have been made, because you have already shown that profit is so good for you and you are using it to build a new office, and you have demonstrated to us that you have profit, etc. So I think that's all that I can say.
I mean, on the new building, you said it was started about, I think, 3 years ago, and it wasn't during the times of crisis, else they wouldn't have taken that decision. So I think that should be it for the building, isn't it?
Well, I'm not the one raising the financing of the building. There are people who are raising the financing of the building. They have procurement issues. They have the actual cost that is being disclosed in the report. They think that the actual cost is more than that. So I don't want to speak for those people. But what I am saying is that profit is so vital to the Bank of Ghana. Without profit, the Bank of Ghana will not be putting up that structure, as explained by the governor itself. So profit is good for the bank. So we shouldn't come out and be saying that we all know that you are not made up, you are not established to make profit. But profit is what has kept you all this while.
All right. So that's by way of so Prof's point is that the BoG should have gone to Parliament to seek for permission, for Parliament to then grant it the go-ahead to honor the request by government. If they had done this, he argues that we wouldn't have been where we are today, where we're talking about this loss, because it would have been with the express permission of Parliament, which is the House of Representatives for you and I. What do you make of this? Go onto our Facebook and leave your comment there. I'll share it with the rest of our viewers. So, Prof, I'm grateful to you for sharing with us your thought on the Bank of Ghana's activities. Grateful. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
So that's Professor John Gatsi. He is the Dean of the School of Business, University of Cape Coast. Now, it's interesting, how all of these issues are coming up. But what do you think of this development and the conversation we've had with Professor John Gatsi? On our Facebook page, you can leave your comment there, and we would share it with our viewers as well. Now, let's turn our attention to our second conversation, where in the Upper East region of Ghana, they are recording the highest number of elephantiasis, according to the Ghana Health Service. There have been about 2,373 confirmed cases of elephantiasis in the region, accounting for about a third of the total national cases. Why is this the case? We have expert joining us to discuss this right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. Let's talk about the elephantiasis issue in the Upper West region. Bright Alomatu is desk officer for lymphatic filariasis, the NTD program. He is joining us for a conversation on this one. Solomon Atimbere is program manager, American Leprosy Missions. He's also joining us as well. Solo and Bright, good morning to you, gentlemen, and welcome.
Good morning.
Great. Let me start with you, Bright. Have we been able to understand why this is happening?
Well, yes, we very much understand the situation in the country. We have mapped the disease across all regions in the country, And out of the 16 regions, we have 12 of them being endemic. And we have 116 districts that transmission of the disease was found to be ongoing.
Okay.
We did that exercise in 1999. And we started an intervention to interrupt the transmission of the disease. So we've been doing this since 2001. We've been administering medications to prevent the spread of the disease. And Upper East is one of the many regions that are endemic. And every year we send ivermectin and albendazole for volunteers to move from house to house, register whole populations, and then treat them. And as we speak, we've been able to interrupt the transmission of the disease in 109 out of the 116 endemic districts. So for now, we have 7 districts that are yet to see interruption of the transmission of the disease. And Upper East region, for instance, even though we are talking of high numbers of people living with the manifestations of the disease, we've been able to also interrupt the transmission of the disease in Upper East region. So if I may give...
But if you say you have interrupted...
a bit more on the situation of Upper East.
If you say you have interrupted, it means that there shouldn't be a spread. Which year were you able to achieve this? And why are we still having these numbers?
Yes, so the disease is such that one gets infected when an infective mosquito bites you. The mosquito bites somebody that has the parasites in the blood and then picks some of the parasites. And when it comes to bite you, it gives them to you. But it takes many years for the disease to develop. The infection will lead to damage to the lymphatic vessels, which leads to accumulation of the fluid in the vessels and also in some tissues. And that is what we see as the swelling. And we have elephantiasis, which is the swelling of the limbs. We have that of the legs, that of the hands, elephantiasis of the breasts, even elephantiasis of the penis and the vulva. And we also have hydrocele, which is the swelling of the scrotum. So these are all signs of the disease. But it takes many years for the signs to start showing. And if you pick any endemic population, you may find many people having the infection, and yet just a few of them might have gone ahead to develop the condition. And therefore, we normally, if we want to know where the disease is, we don't go looking for the big legs, the big scrotum, and the like. But we rather test people to see the level of infection in the people. And we do the mass treatment, we target everybody, and that is aimed at stopping the spread of the disease. And many people, as I said earlier, may have the infection, but may not have the swelling. And again, many of those that even have the swellings, you test them now, they no longer have the parasites. The parasites came, the damage occurred, and the parasites are dead and gone. Now they are living with the effect of the damage to the vessels.
Okay.
And this condition, once, especially for the swelling of the limbs, we don't talk about a cure for them because it's difficult. So we manage them. But the swelling of the scrotum, the hydrocele, and that of the breast, there are operations that are able to cure. But for the swelling of the limbs, we don't have a cure. So we manage them. And that is why, even though we've been able to interrupt transmission of the disease in the region, we still have people living with the swellings. And the numbers that we talked about as a result of an active search that we went to undertake. And that came out with these numbers that we are talking about.
Okay, all right.
And if I may add, Upper East, as I said, is not the only endemic region. And probably the high numbers may be as a result of the many dams and then the irrigation projects we have within the region. As I said earlier, it is the very Anopheles mosquito that also transmits this one. So where you have situations where certain factors lead to huge numbers of mosquitoes within the environment, the likelihood of increased transmission is very high. And probably that is the cause of the high numbers that we see. But this is not a new thing. It is a chronic condition. So these are people that have been living with the swelling over the years. So these started so many years ago. And because this disease also comes with a lot of stigmatization, social exclusion and rejection, people tend to hide the conditions.
Okay.
And again, until recently, when we started building capacity of health workers to provide care for these patients, they will go to health facilities and will not get the needed care. And therefore, most of these patients have been hiding in their corners, trying to do one thing or the other. But now that we have the capacities out there, when we went out looking for them, they came out because they know there is care for them now.
Okay.
And that is why they came out and we saw these huge numbers.
What is the favorable condition for the agent mosquito to thrive?
The availability of fresh water.
Okay.
So as we have the dams, we have the many ponds. Also, we have irrigation projects. Upper East has two big irrigation projects. The Tono irrigation that is found in Navrongo and serves the Kasana Nankana and then the Busa areas. We also have the Via irrigation project that also serves the Bongo and the Bolga areas. And there are also many dams around. So even if you relate to malaria, these areas again have very high incidence of malaria across the country. So they are amongst the regions with the highest, it's the region with the highest numbers when it comes to malaria incidence. And the relationship with the mosquito also leads to these high numbers we are seeing with regards to lymphatic filariasis. So it's not to do with the people, it's not to do with the tribe, it's not to do with the food that they eat, or it's not to do with anything. It's just that the factors are favorable for transmission. And that is why we see such high numbers. And the disease is quite focal. So once you have an individual living with the parasites in him or her, and then you have the mosquitoes available to pick and then spread, and the likelihood of fast spread is very high.
Let me bring in Solomon Atimberry here. He is Programs Manager, American Leprosy Missions. Solo, I'm sure you've listened to Bright and his explanation on why we do have the elephantiasis cases in Upper West. I'm sure what he says means that it is not a cause or a source of worry, isn't it?
Well, good morning to your listeners. I won't say it's not a source of worry. What is not a source of worry is the fact that the Ghana Health Service have worked over the years to interrupt transmission. So in terms of new people getting the infection, that may not be a worry for now. But those who have already gotten the disease, like he explained earlier, the damage has been done, and the people who have the conditions needs to be managed, and that is a source of worry. And that's why you are hearing, this news at this point in time. So yes, transmission might have been interrupted, so there won't be new cases, but those hundreds of people who are infected and who have had the manifestation of various conditions like the hydrocele and the lymphodemas, they have to live with it for the rest of their life, except the hydrocele that surgical interventions can't cure them. So there's no...
how can we therefore care for these numbers, those who have already gotten it, and it looks like we don't have any intervention for them?
Well, I will not say we don't have any intervention. If you listen to Bright very well, currently we are having some training for the people to be
No,
able
no,
to
no.
manage their
I'm
conditions.
asking in terms of the people who cannot, with whom we cannot really undertake a surgery operation to get the disease off. For example, those with the legs and all of that. I'm asking, how do we care for them? Because for them, we cannot undertake surgery and get the issue off them.
Yes. So what we are currently doing is management of their conditions. So we're training them on how to take care of their conditions, do daily washing, exercise, various packages that they need to keep in mind and practice so they can keep their conditions at reasonable levels. They can avoid infections, further infections or opportunistic infections. Then they can also keep the limbs quite reasonable sizes so they can take part in economic activities. So those interventions are currently ongoing with Ghana Health Service leading, American Leprosy Mission, and then Christian Foundation for International Health supporting with the little resources that we have. So these trainings and capacity building can take place. So these are the interventions that we are carrying out. It is not something that can cure the condition forever, but you can manage the condition in such a way that you can begin to see reversal of the size of the limb.
Oh,
so
okay.
It is not going to.
It is good then. If you see a reversal of the size of the limb, then that's good.
Let me make the point that even though when you manage it the right way that the professionals are teaching them, they can notice reversals in the size of the limb, but it is not something that will go away.
Okay.
When we say reversal, we are talking about the fact that the limbs being so huge, so if they do it well, the limbs become lighter for them to be able to move around. So you may still see the limb being big, but in terms of the weight, it becomes lighter. The limb system will start functioning small, and therefore you will not have so much accumulation of fluid that makes the limb so heavy to be able to move around.
Okay.
So that is it.
So it means that for newborn babies, are there things we need to do to ensure that they do not get exposed to some of these things?
Well, I think Bright would have spoken about that, but for newborn babies, this condition is prevented through the Mass Drug Administration. The program, the Ghana Health Service, the Neglected Tropical Disease Program, has been carrying out over the years. So once there's no drug that is administered to baby as such, but you might attain a certain age and it is provided with height. So once your height is within the acceptable level, you are provided with the drug, and then you take it. And after, once you start taking those drugs, you will prevent any microfilaria in your system that will cause this damage. But as you said, we hope that for those districts that interruption of transmission has been interrupted, what it means is that people are no longer carrying the active the microfilaria that the mosquito will bite and pick and then give it to another person. So hopefully, newborn babies won't stand the risk if those districts have been interrupted. Okay.
So, Bright, for the remaining district that you've not been able to interrupt, what are these? So that, if you are there, you have to seek for the right advice from the health officers to ensure that you're protected.
Yeah. Yes. So we have Elembele in the western region. We have Sunani West in Bono. We have Bole and Sola Tunankaba in Savannah, and then Laura in Upper West. So these ones we have been doing the treatment for many years, and we are getting there. just that it's been slow. But two new ones that we identified just last year are Wenchi and then Nkranza South. And we've also started the mass drug administration. And we continue to do the mass drug administration. We carry out social mobilization for people to understand the risk so that they can participate in the exercises. Many a time for these neglected diseases, people see them very far from them. People think that they cannot get this kind of condition. And therefore, even when volunteers move around with medicines to give to the people in their own homes, some people still refuse because they don't see the risk of getting it. And it is something that we are working on. We've been doing social mobilization. We've been showing videos for people to see the real risk that is there so they can participate in the free treatment that we are offering. And as Solomon said, our aim is to clear the parasite from the system. So in future, mosquitoes would be there, but they will bite and they will not find the parasite to pick and then give to another person. So the young ones that are being born, once you're able to interrupt the transmission, they don't stand the risk of getting infected. And that is how we go about it. And now our biggest problem is those that are living with the condition. What do we do for them? And that is why we are building the capacity across the regions so health workers will be able to provide the needed care so they can have improved quality of life and can also increase productivity. So these are the things that we are working very hard on. And one side that we also want support from the general public is the fact that, as I said, most of these patients, you test them, they no longer carry the parasite. The damage has occurred. The parasite gone. The people rather fear these ones than you and I that are not showing any sign of swelling. But rather, most of the individuals that don't have any swelling are those that have the parasite. And therefore, the fear that we have for these people is in a way misplaced. It's you and I that sometimes even bluff when the medicines come. That should be feared.
Oh,
the
okay.
patients, you go close to them, you are not going to, they don't even have the parasites anymore. They have suffered the damage and they are living with the damage. So people associating with these patients will not get the infection just by getting close to these patients. And they need our support. They need the support of everybody because some even sell and people wouldn't want to buy from them. Some lose their jobs, some lose their marriages. And it brings about huge mental health effects on these patients because if care is not taken, the person can even get depressed and other related consequences can also come about. And therefore, they need our support. We all need to be there for them. We are not going to get the infection from them by relating, by doing other things. And as I said, it is only through mosquito bites. The mosquito must bite somebody that carries the parasite, which mostly are individuals that are even not showing any swelling.
Okay.
We are those that people should fear. So they need our love, they need our care and support so they can live meaningful life.
So you still do go about administering these drugs in those districts that still do have it, right?
Yes, we just finished last month, last July. We did another round of mass drug administration in all the districts that are yet to interrupt the transition. We continue to also do assessment to check whether the infection levels are coming down or not. And if they are not coming down, we also try to check what factors are leading to such persistence of transmission so we can address them. So we are working hard to ensure that in no time we are able to interrupt transmission. But the WHO also has it that because countries are not paying so much attention to the individuals already living with the conditions, they've added the fact that we need to put in place systems to take care of the patients so that wherever they find themselves, they can get care. Just as you have malaria, you walk into any cheap compound, you can get care. They want to see this happening for them. So until we do that, even if we interrupt transmission from everywhere, we will not be certified to have eliminated the disease. And therefore, we are working very hard to also help these patients that have unfortunately are having these swellings that are affecting their daily lives.
So in the district that you have interrupted this transmission, what is the possibility of re-emergence of the disease?
Yes, so the process is that after you determine that you've been able to interrupt transmission and you stop the treatment, you still don't pack your bag and baggage and leave. You put in place surveillance, and you do this for 5 years. So if within these 5 years that you are not treating, you do periodic assessments, and active transmission is not picking up, then you can say that the interruption has been sustained, and then you start preparing your dossier for certification.
Incredible. That's why it's been some time I got the drug in my district, because it used to come. They will measure your height and then they will give you the drug for you to take. Let's see how it goes.
This is the
Hunter West. I mean, I used to take that.
So,
I mean,
yes. Hunter West. Yes, just last year we were able to interrupt transmission. So we had a hell of time interrupting in the Hunter West, but thankfully last year we succeeded in interrupting the transmission over there.
Oh, okay.
And Hunter West is also another district with very heavy numbers of individuals living with this condition, and we've worked over the years, and thankfully we've been able to stop the spread. And we are also doing surgeries for those with the hydroceles, and we're also helping those with the limb swellings to manage them so that they can have improved quality of life.
When we were young, we thought it was because we are in a coastal district. That's why this was coming. So we're told that this is a coastal phenomenon. I didn't know that it could even go to the interior part of the country where they are far from the coast. So it is not as though this is a coastal issue, right?
No, yes. So it's along the coast, in the middle belt, and also in the savanna areas. Yes, we have it all over the country.
Okay. All right. So what is the plan to ensure that the districts that are yet to have the transmission, interrupted, are successfully interrupted, and then the new ones that you've identified, you are able to deal with that?
Yes, because we have treated in these districts for many years, we expected that by now we should have achieved the interruption. So we are trying to, we've done various surveys to understand why it's been quite slow in these places. So we have upped our game as far as social mobilization is concerned. We are showing videos to get people participate in this exercise. And again, the work by the National Malaria Elimination Program also helps our cause, because it's the same vector that we are talking about. So as people receive the treated mosquito nets, we expect them to use them for that purpose and sleep under them. So once you prevent the mosquito bite, you are also preventing getting infection with the lymphatic filariasis. So we are still doing the treatment, and we are trying hard to make sure that the treatment coverage is very high, and the few individuals that have persistently refused to participate, those persistent non-compliance, we are also talking to them to let them understand the risk that they are posing to the whole community. So we are trying to pick all the points where the problems are and addressing them accordingly. So we are continuing with the treatment, social mobilization, and we are encouraging people to participate so that just as others have been able to interrupt, they can also be there, so we can protect ourselves and protect the future generation.
Okay. All right. Bright Matu, I'm grateful for joining us here. Solomon Atimberry, I'll give you the last words before we conclude this discussion.
Yes, so to re-emphasize the point Bright made earlier, that these people need our support. We don't need to discriminate against them. You cannot get the disease by physical contact, and therefore let's include them. And they are so vulnerable to the extent that I will wish government has a special package to support them in terms of most of the government initiative. The LEAP, for instance, we want to appeal to the agencies responsible to consider these people as vulnerable people who are not able to take part in economic activities to be able to support their daily lives. So roping them into the LEAP will be a good starting point. So, and then we use your medium to also appeal to the general public to always come in to support these vulnerable people in society.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Grateful. Solomon Atimberry is the programs manager for the American Leprosy Missions. Okay. And this is still the AM show, but we'll talk about Operation Double Science STEM enrollment. The Education Ministry says this initiative is to educate and sensitize the public on the prospect of pursuing science and STEM-related courses, demystifying the learning of science and STEM, and leading to increased enrollment in our respective senior high schools across the country. An interesting, project or program or policy being undertaken by the ministry, and I'm excited by this. But what are the details? We'll have them here on the AM show right after this break. All right, so welcome back to the AM show. Let's talk about something very interesting. Recently, the study of science and science-related programs has become quite interesting because of, the turn of, they call it the fourth revolution, because now it's either robotics or things about aerospace, much about the science, technology, engineering and mathematics programs. That is what is controlling the world now. Even today, we're in AI. It's all born out of the sciences. So a lot more, concentration has been given to that area. Now the Education Ministry says we want to ensure that we bridge the gap between the STEM science courses and the non-sciences. How are we going to do that? We have to ensure that the public really understands what is at stake here. So today, to help us understand the new direction of the Education Ministry's policy in science and STEM is the PRO of the ministry, Kwesi Kwatin. Good morning, Kwesi.
Yeah, good morning, Kwejo. How are you?
I'm good. I was going to ask you to say, but yeah, it's fine. All right. Kwesi didn't come here alone. He came with the National STEM Coordinator in charge of physics at GES, David Bauer. So, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
Oh, God has been good.
Physics was one of my, interesting courses when I was in school. We started learning physics when we were in second year, third term, because the university said because I was doing agric. Okay. They said if you don't do physics and chemistry or elective maths, you can't go to the university. So we had to start. But it was an interesting course, and I loved it. Very, very, very. And that's why I got interested in the science area. But Kwesi, why this? Why are we now getting to say let's do science? But even before we get there, let's understand the gap between the sciences and the non-science related courses.
All right. So, just by way of also introduction, I'm also a science student.
Oh, okay.
I read science from Konongo Odumase.
Okay.
Then proceeded to UDS, where I also read health science education.
Oh.
And at some point, I felt that my science background is almost being lost. So I had to also even also study another area of science in occupational health and environmental safety.
Oh, okay.
But for now, I've moved from sciences to the analogous and humanities program. But maybe someday I may have to visit the science. But I'm a purely science student. All my adult life has been through science education until recently. Anyway, so back to the substantive question. The reason we are here. Largely, you have to situate this within global trends and in development, and the suggestion that it poses that at the end of the day, if you look at it clearly, there's a strong correlation between education and socioeconomic transformation and the fact that national development. And if you are listening to the Minister for Education, Dr. Elsa Edujimi, has always insisted that education largely is centered on three key variables. You look at access, you look at quality, and then you look at relevance. Relevance in the sense that there has to be impact of education on no socio-economic transformation. But the point is that what is the content of education that you are providing to your people that can, at the end of the day, have a correspondence that will inure to the benefit of the country, so that we will be seeing that socio-economic transformation that we are having. It presupposes that as a country, we have to move from, the era where education was only read and write, and then get into the era where we can indeed use our education to transform our socio-economic transformation. What essentially means is that the human capital, the human resources that we are really preparing have to be that kind of capital, that kind of human resource that meets the 21st century demands. You will recall, if you look at the first industrial revolution, where we had the development of steam engine, where the steam engine propelled machines to be able to advance manufacturing and then transition world economies from agricultural economy to industrial one. Ghana was left out.
So the whole of the African continent.
Yeah, the whole of African continent was left out. At every point, looking at the second industrial revolution, where electricity was produced, mass production, industrialization, we also left out. The third industrial revolution, the whole of African continent, like we are rightly even indicated, we were just at the consumption side, just facilitating other economies to be rich. What it means is that if Microsoft is able to design a computer, we will only be buying it,
exactly.
Giving them money. But it is about time that within this fourth industrial revolution, as a people, we have to make a conscious effort not to miss out. Interestingly, if you look at, for instance, enrollment of science to other humanities programs in the SHS level, it's around just 12%. As compared to 88% in humanities.
12 at the senior high school?
Yes, 12. And if you want to even take the breakdown, if you go to places like the northern region, it's 4%.
Wow.
And so it is not only sad, but it is terrible. And what
about the tertiary level?
The tertiary level is 40 to 60.
Oh, 40%.
Yeah, 40%. Okay. But of course, it should rather be the reverse. The reverse should rather reflect what is here. It should rather be 60 and 40, especially when you are having a conversation within the context of the 21st century. And so the Ministry of Education, as part of efforts to reposition and realign Ghana's education, is embarking on this massive STEM campaign and create that level of awareness and say, hey, look, within the 21st century, where we are training students to be critical thinkers, to be assertive, to be problem solvers, the deal and the big deal in the order of the day has to be STEM. And so against this background, the Ministry of Education is taking this bold initiative so that we're able to close the gap. And not necessarily closing the gap, but closing the gap so that at the end of the day, you have education, producing the right quality of education so that you have education inuring to the benefits of the people. So that relevance component, of course, when it comes to access from the basic level, we don't have so much of a challenge. At the secondary level, there's not so much of challenge. Even at the tertiary level, not so much of a challenge. So in terms of access, fine. But then the two fundamental questions is what quality? What is the content of education that you are providing to your people? Is it just read and write? Is it memorization? And the minister rightly indicated that you cannot memorize yourself out of poverty. You have to provide education that solves problems. Look at somebody like Zoom Lion. He's somebody that I admire from afar and I model. And I feel that we must always reference him in conversations like this. The level of education that he had, he did not say that I'm just going to look for a white-collar job, but he used to identify a societal problem in the area of filth, that I'm going to clean filth. When you do that, when you train your people with that set of kind of mentality, what it means
providing
is that,
solutions.
Exactly, they provide solutions, and that solution, bingo, it turns into something big, and then it provides employment, jobs, and then the socioeconomic transformation that you people want as the country develops. So our aim is to, particularly within this enrollment period where we'll be placing students within the SHS, is to move it consciously from 12% to around 25%.
You're using the placement system to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
By encouraging a lot of students to sell. Of course, we are unable to impose which program is
Are you targeting those who just wrote the BEC?
Yes.
Or those who just wrote the BEC?
Yes, we are starting from them.
Oh, okay. They are now going to do their school selections?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. But I hope the STEM won't be the usual, as I sit here, I can clearly remember titration.
Chemistry?
Yes. I can remember, measuring Ohm's law using we had a certain wire on and then as for that I can. But when it comes to the one that I read, say what is atom, what is blah, 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 blah.
Molecule.
I cannot really. So is it still the usual textbook, or we've now said let's transition into making it more practicable?
Thank you very much. Let me greet to Honorable Minister, Dr. Yao said it. And also the Director General of GES, and the person of Dr. Eric Nkansa, and the entire management staff. And also the Free SHS Secretariat team, and my immediate director, Mrs. Olivia Sewapari, in charge of STEM education in Ghana. Well, looking at the teaching of science now, it has not actually departed from that old way that you know, but we are moving gradually from that traditional way of teaching to activity-based teaching now. So sciences in the schools have gotten a lot of equipments and resources that we are moving from the traditional way of teaching to practical base now. So when you go to the schools now, the learners there are so curious that most of them are even using their own extracurricular activities to do certain things that are outside the curriculum that we have. And that tells you that we need to actually move totally from the traditional way of teaching to the 21st century way of learning. If you look at schools like McGee's, Afia Kobi,
is that where they develop
the girls develop the aeroplane.
The plane.
Yes.
It's actually a drone.
It's a drone.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's a big one.
What's the name of the school?
Afia Kobi.
Afia Kobi.
Yes, in the Ashanti region. Recently, they've also made another one, a boat, which is remotely controlled.
Oh, okay.
Can move on water. Wow. You see. So all these things, you will not see it anywhere in the curriculum. But they have that zeal and curiosity to research and come out with those products. That tells you that when the curriculum is totally moved from the traditional way to where the minister is now wants us to move to, in that direction, our learners today can do better.
I guess that's the focus of the new curriculum then.
Yeah, the new curriculum for the basic, that is the junior high, the old one fits just the last batch wrote recently. They would use the old curriculum. But the beginning next year, the new curriculum, that is the standard-based curriculum, is going to be in operational beginning next year.
Okay. But if that's the case, let's talk about logistics.
I mean, just let me add something there. So with regards to the curriculum, I mean, if you look at the basic level, that is from primary 1 up to primary 6, the standard-based curriculum is already in operation. It is a common core that I'm sure he was referring to. So the common core, I think the form ones are already starting it, have already started it. It is those that went out that still use the form one. So largely, the gradual process of fading out the old curriculum, even up to the GHS level, is in effect.
Well, so I was going to ask about logistics because just last week we were having a discussion about books. That the new curriculum is there, but they don't have books for it. So once we are going to do STEM, how readily available, prepared are we in terms of logistics?
Well, I mean, let me take the book one. So, yes, of course, at every point when there is an introduction of curriculum, obviously it has to tally with the provision of books. And the standard-based curriculum came in at some point. What the ministry did was to provide teachers and learners resource packs to the students, whilst processes in terms of procurement, in terms of all publishing processes, quality assurance mechanisms are put in place to print the books. As I speak to you, within the standard-based curriculum, books has been sent to the schools. And those are largely, let me categorize
all
them.
The schools?
I'm coming there because I have personally visited the schools and I'm going to give you a report here. It's largely could be a breaking news. So what has happened is that we engage publishers And let me put it within a context like, say, the foundational subjects, i.e. English, mathematics, science, and creative arts. Publishers have already printed the books and distribution have gone. Of course, they left with the other subjects like, say, French, Chi, I think Our World, there's a course subject, Our World, Our People.
Our People.
Our OWAP, that we are also engaging publishers to distribute. The challenge that we had when it comes to the distribution, of course, I mean, I granted that one interview with Evans, and they pointed out that even those books that we've sent, we claim we've sent, they are not there. So what the Minister for Education asks is that, yes, first of all, indeed, if you look at the GES official communication channel, the feedback that we received as a ministry from their regional distribution channel to the district distribution channel is that we've had the books. But of course, we are unable to rely on that alone, particularly when, I mean, the Lies of Joy has also brought it up that, well, I mean, there could be some challenges within the distribution. So I personally randomly selected some districts. I went to La Nkwantana, Medina, for instance. I also went to the regional office, for instance. So what I noticed was that, I mean, let me put it, this is, if you ask me, at certain level, we should just apply the common sense approach with regards to the distribution. Because I don't see the reason why, for instance, there are 2 publishers for, let's say, English language. In terms of the distribution, you have the channels taking all the 2 different publishers, sending or distributing the same kind of book, let's say within the same subject to the schools, instead of, for instance, 1. So the challenge that I saw when I went to most of the schools was that, for instance, a school of, say, 70 people, in terms of English, publisher A, Kwesi Kwarteng, they send, let's say, 64 there. And publisher B, Kojo Brace, they send 5 there. So you go to the school, you ask of English, you don't even know which of the books to use. Most times, the teachers even prefers the publisher with the very minority book. I think there was one Essential Science. They said they loved that book, but they were just only 9 copies as compared to the other publishing house. And so, yes, the media will go there, they will find that there are only 9 books. Yeah. Because that's what the teachers also prefer, and indeed 9 books are there. But if you take the totality of the entire books, they are actually not 9. What they essentially meant is that from the GES distribution channel, from the regional level, in terms of dispatching and the distribution of the books, shouldn't have mixed publishing houses, 2 publishing houses to the same school, or even in the same region. So if publisher A should have probably been taken to Asante region, publisher B to, let's say, Greater region. As soon as you mix them, you are going to find the challenges that you are witnessing in the school. So what the minister have directed is that quickly they should do redistribution of the books to align with the various publishing houses, particularly within the regions.
But if you and I have sent books there, and there are more than 9 books, why are the teachers saying that because we like 9, the book that has 9 copies, we are going to tell the media that we have 9, when in actual fact they have more than 9?
No, so that's what I'm saying that.
But why are the teachers even liking the one with the 9 and rejecting the other one?
You see, first of all, let me put it in this way. One is a matter of preference. And again, let me highlight that in the first place, if you look at the standard-based curriculum, it is not a curriculum that is textbook-centered. Ordinarily, and I mean, this is an unofficial representation or unofficial, comment for me. Ordinarily, like countries like UK that has even banned the use of textbooks, a typical standard-based curriculum should not have textbooks. Because you see, the previous curriculum that we had was textbook-centered. What it essentially means that a teacher will come to class and say, open to page 5 of your English book, open to page science of your science book and read. That is not how we do science. Within the standard-based curriculum, if we are talking about pollution, you allow students to create an atmosphere or an environment which is pollution-free. That is the main objective of the standard-based curriculum. Within a standard-based curriculum, textbooks are only supplementary reading materials and references for the students, even in their homes. It is only in Ghana that we may even want to, do the hybrid way, because maybe at some point we feel that we cannot just transition just very sharply like that. So then we should balance. So even if you go to the schools now, as I speak with you, one, ordinarily a teacher should rely on syllables. But beyond that, we've provided teachers and learners resource packs, which largely contains every content within the textbooks. Of course, we also added the textbooks like I rightly indicated. But I admit that within the GES distribution channels, instead of, say, taking publisher A to Ashanti region, they mix them.
Okay.
And so you go to school, you see English books. If you ask them, depending on teacher preference, and of course, I don't want to impugn any intentions in it, but the teacher will say, we have only 5. You probe further, you ask of the inventory, and you realize that there is another 64 sets in there. Again, I also want to admit that when I went there, one of the observations that I also made is also enrollment increase. If you printed books last year and distributed, this year, rationally, you will have students also joining most of the classes.
So what you're saying is that
so you get to a school that
the teachers were telling the NACA boss who was in their school that we don't have the books, and the NACA boss was even saying that this is not approved. You're saying that such a school would have the books, but they are still using unapproved ones.
No, I mean these are two different questions.
Okay.
So the first one.
So it means that it's not all the schools.
No, the first one. The first question has to do with quantity. That's what I've explained. That is as a result of distributional mishaps. And the second one has to do with content or quality. That is with regards to the approval. You see, I mean, let's be real here.
So not all the schools have the approved books, like you said.
Every school, with regards to the topics or the subjects that I've mentioned.
So English, math, science, creative arts.
Yes, all of them have the books.
Okay.
The only challenge that I saw has to do with the mishaps with regards to the publishing houses.
Okay.
But in terms of the approved books and unapproved books, I mean, you see, let's be very real and practical here. You have some of the schools and their leadership engaging a lot of time private publishing houses. Oh, we are going to give you these books, you try. If you are interested, you can encourage your students to get this. I mean, those are all private arrangements that we know could happen in this country. Such books may not necessarily be approved by NACA. But you see, for me, if you ask me, I feel NACA should rather be commended for even taking that step to go and identify that there are even unapproved books. What it essentially means is that their monitoring and supervision mechanism is working well. We've directed them to take steps and take away that books. But you see, I don't want the whole conversation to be fixated on textbooks. We came here to push them enrollment.
So my question was.
So I wanted to stay out because I know when I can ask me textbooks.
So my question was that on the logistics for STEM in terms of laboratories and what have you, what is our state now?
Good. Now we have laboratories existing, but because of the enrollment drive that we are embarking on, definitely there is going to be a pressure on the few resources that we have. Now there's that collaboration between the ministry and SENDLOS to provide mobile laboratories. And also there have been a lot of equipments that have been distributed to the schools not long ago. I think last 2 years and last year, substantial number of the senior high schools got new equipment. And there are also plans to supply new equipments to schools that will increase their enrollment in the sciences. So in terms of logistics, I think there are plans in place to take care of the short falls of.
I have a good news for him because he is coming from on the logistics. Just a quick one. You saw the pictures that were shown.
Yes.
The good news is that as I speak to you, 300 laboratories have been retooled and re-equipped.
Yeah.
Throughout the country.
Yes, throughout the country.
300.
And I mean, you are also aware of the STEM school that has been operationalized. Newly built senior high schools, 5 of them has been operationalized this year within the school placement.
So he didn't know about it?
No, I'm aware about that.
Okay.
I'm aware about that.
We are here to speak for the ministry. At the end of the day, we are to augment the information that we bring out. I speak for the ministry. So I should be in that position to be able to give the good news out there.
So the placement is going to be that you're going to put students at where these laboratories are, or how is it going to be done?
No, the enrollment drive is geared towards the category A and B schools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there are some students, they actually want to do science in some schools, but because of limited vacancies, you see those students ending up doing general arts. So you go to the school, the management of the school will tell them that, no, we don't have space for the sciences. But because the learners still want to be in the school, it's okay, I'll go for general arts or any of the humanities programs and stay in the school. So this time around, what we are saying is that if you have about 200 students who wanted to do science, but because of space, they couldn't get that chance to do science, why not convert that same 200 or two general classes that those who wanted to do science couldn't do and went to general art? Why can't we convert them to do science?
Oh, okay. So I may be in school A.
Good. So
I wanted to do science, but because of space, I've been put in the art class.
Good.
You're saying that if I have like 50 of me,
good,
you convert the 50 into a science class.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So if you have about
vacancies,
if you have, let's say 10
vacancies.
Yeah, vacancies within the science enrollment.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
So let's say in a school they have about 12 classes doing general arts. But within that 12 classes, the data shows that about 2 classes of them wanted to do science.
Oh, there's that. The data shows clearly that sometimes that's the situation. Okay.
Yes. So this time, why not convert that 2 classes to science? So that those who wanted to do science will get the opportunity to do their science.
Okay.
So that is the plan. So because of that, there's going to be increase in vacancy declaration for sciences.
Okay.
So that the general art classes may reduce.
Oh, okay.
And then that space is given to the...
So this is more like a deliberate plan that you're going to embark upon.
Yes.
You say that let's get more sciences than the non-science programs. Okay. And all of these schools will be retooled or will be tooled to
They have retooled. I mentioned that.
All of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
how many senior high schools do we have in Ghana? You are saying that 300 of them. How many senior high schools do we have?
We have, if you look at the SHS, we have about 700 of them. The TVET is about 200 of them. And so cumulatively, we are looking at about a region of 900. So of course, if you look at the 700, it is not all of them that do not have, modern states of the art science laboratory.
Okay.
Some have. So the existing one that do not have, we've selected about 300 of them and we are retooling them. When we look at, for instance, so largely schools within the category A and category B will be giving more science vacancy slots, particularly, with regards to the enrollment or the school placement. Category C schools that if you also look at their status, that they are also able to do science, particularly schools that have modern state science laboratories, they will also be considered. So it is not an event. It is a conscious process, but we begin with the 300 laboratories that we apparently.
But the increased numbers that you're going to have will therefore mean that you need to have the human resource to meet up.
Sure.
That's a teacher ratio.
Sure.
How prepared are you guys?
The ministry has taken steps to recruit more, and there are some areas where you see teachers, the full complement of the science teachers, but the enrollment there is very less. Okay. There are some schools you may get maybe 20 students, but with a full complement of sciences. So there are plans to see if those teachers can be sent to where there's high pressure in terms of enrollment of students.
Okay.
So that arrangement is also there.
There are more science graduates to do that you need to employ to be part of the system.
You see, one thing that we should also be proud, as a people, is also if we look at how the gains we've made when it comes to the student-teacher ratio. Contrary to the news that was out there that was 24,000:1, that clearly is unrealistic. 24,000 students in which classroom? It's actually 15:1 because we are having an excess
15 students to one teacher?
At the SHS level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 15:1 because we have around 85,000 teachers. I'll confirm the figure for you but there's an excess of 85,000 teachers divided by 1.3 million students. That's 15:1. Even if you look at TVET, it's even lower because TVET you are having around 11,000 teachers as compared to the number of students. I think that one is around 13:1. I'll confirm for you before I leave the show. So even the cumulative effect still brings us to 15:1. Okay. So it's one of the best that we have in Africa and even the whole world. If
indeed it is 1:15.
I'm giving you the data. I'm going to give you the data before I leave here.
To see the data.
I speak for the Ministry of Education. Where is my phone? I can just bring my phone.
Okay. Now, for candidates who would wish to enter into or pursue these science STEM programs, what's the prospect that await them?
Good. Now, when we talk of science, when I liken it to the football matches or plays, I would say science happens to be the number 6, a utility player. You yourself, you just said you were a science student.
Yeah.
But now you are a journalist.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That tells you that, in fact, when you read science, you have a whole lot of environment to operate in.
Yeah.
So science students, they have a lot of opportunities. Most often, parents think that when you offer science, you can only be a doctor, you can only be an engineer or whatever.
You can do a lot.
Good. But science student can be a banker. Science student can be an accountant.
But how do they take advantage of this aerospace and aviation? Because I'm excited by
that. That is why this term is coming up strongly. Now, the STEM, when we mention STEM, in fact, the mind goes to the 4 dominated acronyms, that is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But it goes beyond that. Now, looking at our current curriculum, it is preparing the learners to be critical thinkers, so that it will move them from that theoretical way of learning to more practical. We want to see students who will leave the walls of the school and be able to come out with products that will solve societal needs. Okay. So if you go into sciences, then you have the opportunity to become that engineer that you want to be. You can become the pilot that you want to be, aside the medicine that people have their minds on. Anytime we mention science, we have the ICT, that is the technology aspect. So when you take the science alone in the STEM, that 3-4 components that are hidden, chemistry, physics, biology, and agric science, they are not mentioned, but they are in there. You talk about the technology, that is where you get your AI, you get your drone engineering, you get your computing, and all the rest about technology also there. Then you have your engineering aspect, where you have the electrical engineering, auto, mechanical, and whatever. Then we have the mathematics, which you talk about the elective mathematics and also the core mathematics. Aside that, when you take a particular topic in physics, for example, energy, we can look at renewable sources of energy. And then learners can develop systems that will harness these renewable sources of energy. In the process of developing the system, you can still get the component of STEM in that particular topic that you are developing the system. Because if, let's say, you get your solar panels and you want to set it up, then engineering comes in, mathematics comes in, that technology comes in. Recently, when there was this energy competition, you see technologies that learners have been able to come up. It will marvel you. Very great ideas.
So it means that the new academic year we're going to enter, we're going to see students doing more practical things in terms of STEM.
Not new academic, it has started already.
Oh, okay.
It has started already.
So if I go to my school, will I see the kids doing some of these things?
Sure, that is what the teachers should be doing now.
If I mention my school to you, you will be able to tell me that if I go there, I'll see the kids doing that.
That is what
if that's the case, then I'll go there next 2 weeks.
That is what the teachers should be doing now.
Okay.
And teachers that are not doing, I can tell you there had been series of capacity buildings to build the capacity of these teachers to move from that traditional way of teaching to the new way of learning. Okay. So sometimes in most of our workshops, we encourage them to actually use these locally available materials, convert them to solve societal needs. So we have a lot of materials around, but because some kind of ideas are lacking, they are not able to do that. But in most of our capacity building programs, that is what we have been taking to.
So let me ask this question again. You're saying that the materials or the resources needed to ensure an effective implementation of STEM is in place. Now, we're not going to have any school say that we don't have ABC and that's why we're not able to teach STEM well.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So are you aware of the STEM academies?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were having it. Is it 12 or so?
The STEM academies apparently is being constructed nationwide. Each region will have it. But I recently went to the East Legon one, which is, very near completion.
Okay.
I'm sure you are also aware of the science resource centers.
Yes.
20 of them, which is being constructed in existing, most of them senior high schools already in the country, that even the communities can take advantage on. You are also aware of Pesimpe STEM School. You are aware of the one in Eastern Region. Abomosu. 5 currently has been operational. And the good news is that even last year, during the school placement, when you look at the enrollment of these science students, it was actually oversubscribed.
Yes.
You have students who actually oversubscribe. So, I mean, it boils down to what he's also saying, that we may also have to realign the placement regime and give more vacancies to schools that are already offering most of these science programs.
Okay.
But I mean, could you let me just confirm the figures to you when it comes to teacher to student ratio?
Okay.
In terms of the SHS, we have 1,331,219 students. 1,331,219 students. And the teaching staff, and with regards to the teaching staff, this is in regards to just last month, the recently validated teaching staff at the SHS. That is 85,934. I mean, so you can do the calculation, the division yourself. You realize you get 15:1. Okay. In the TVS schools too, we have 11,731 teachers. And if
that's one student or teachers?
Sorry, teachers. 11,731 teachers.
Okay.
And the students are 152,537. And at that space will be 13:1. So in terms of the student-to-teacher ratio, we have one of the best in the whole world.
Okay.
Probably we should be the best in Africa.
Okay. Now, interesting how this is going, but I hope that we really get to achieve all of that.
Sure.
So you are saying that my school is Bedubonso. I'm sure we are.
Your school is
Bedubonso is in Agunan Kwanta.
Okay.
I don't know if it comes readily to you. We also offer science. When I go there, will I see all of these, equipment that will help them to teach STEM well?
Evidence-based. Go and check for yourself. Go and check for yourself and report to us.
I'll go and then I'll bring the report.
And within this 21st century space, teachers would have to be more resourceful.
Okay.
In some cases, you may not see the physical, but you can also use the virtual aspect of it. And in some cases, there are some equipments that you may not need the real, you can improvise. In situations where you cannot improvise, I think we can use the technology, digital aspect of it, to show how you want it to be seen.
But hands-on is always better.
Good. Hands-on
that's why you're doing STEM.
Good. That is
so that is
the point.
It will help them to use the hands-on to train the kids.
That is where I'm going. And when you see the video of, let's say, how Akosombo Dam works, Akosombo Dams work, you get the principle. You can come back. You will not get Akosombo Dam in your home, but you can use a barrel, put your water in, raise it above a certain height, and then the water can run to turn your turbine that Akosombo water is turning. You see, in that case, haven't seen the principle of how Akosombo work in the video or virtually, you can now engage your learners to practically construct models of Akosombo Dam.
But you know that this expectation of yours might probably not work because you know how tense or depressed, for lack of a better word, how these teachers are. Sometimes they are so worn out such that him to do the extra thing you ask him to do to go and watch how Akosombo Dam was done, put a barrier there and teach the kids. He won't do it. So you should make the things available so that it's easy for him to say, because I have the materials, I'll just use
we don't have to make it available. Either than that, you'll be spoon-feeding
the teachers,
the learner.
Oh, really?
You'll be spoon-feeding the learner because you want the learner to be innovative and critical thinker.
Okay.
So when you give the thing to the learner, how will the learner be thinking again?
Hey.
So
in some instances, you're not going to make the materials available, but they have to look for it.
I think Kwajo, I'm coming. Kwajo, you see, don't. I'm coming.
It shouldn't end up in the textbooks.
I'm responding.
We don't have the textbooks.
No, nobody.
That's why.
Nobody have said we don't have the textbooks. I gave an explanation.
You have, but I'm saying that we don't have to get there for us to be told, we don't have aeroplane, maybe the hangar. That's why we're not teaching
I'm
the
coming.
kids.
So it's the same place that I'm coming. For me and from the Ministry of Education, is a balance of the two.
Okay.
So if you recently heard the minister speak at the St. Loss event where he said that we are going to introduce virtual free SHS, he was largely talking about the same thing. What essentially means that is a way of boosting or increasing access. At the same time, ensuring that you are maintaining the quality component of education.
Okay.
So most of the practical lessons, in order to also augment the practical lessons, you also introduce a virtual one. I mean, all over the world, even in universities, we use simulations and other things. So it's just a way of augmenting it, not necessarily the lack of availability.
Thank
you are aware we've introduced
them. But before you go, there's a letter from the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC. It says, we write at the instance of the Honorable Minister of Education requesting you not to pay monthly salary and allowances for the month of August 2023 to the teaching staff of all 46 colleges of education, CTAC. However, any arrears before August 2023 should be validated and paid. We count very much on your cooperation and urgent action, please. And this is addressed to the Controller Accountant General. Why this?
Well, there is a history to that, very briefly. So, CTAC had their conditions of service expired. And so, I mean, the requirement was that they negotiate or engage their employers and agree on the new conditions of service. That was done and approved by even the Ministry of Finance for annual payment. But right after the approval, CTAC raised a concern. And their major concern was that 4 of the items, according to them, they flagged it because according to them, their point is that it has been unilaterally changed by Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. So what we, the Ministry of Education, even did was that, indicate those 4 items, let's look at it again, and then prompt the Ministry of Finance for them to take into account. That was done. Approval was given for payment, but that was around 21st of July because we were just entering into August. And the Ministry of Education informed CITA that this is where we are. Everything has been approved. In any event, we are going to, even in terms of your payment, all outstanding arrears are going to be backdated. And so you can then go to work because all the concerns that you were looking for has finally been resolved. Because what Controller told Ministry of Education is that if indeed they want to effect the payment as at just last July, it was not going to be possible. What essentially means is that they will have to sacrifice the entire payment structure for all civil servants in Ghana, maybe at the altar of the 2,000 CTAC students, CTAC employees that we may want to factor. So it was resolved that I guess they make the payment. And of course, the payment was going to take into account all outstanding arrears or our outstanding negotiations. CTAC said no. So what Ministry of Education is saying is that, in the month of August, you did not go to work. You did not work. Even against the National Labour Commission telling you that since all you are looking for has been agreed upon and has actually been approved and payment is scheduled for next month, you have to go to work. CTAC said no. But I mean, you know that CTAC, just like most of these colleges of education, is just like an industrial hub. You work to produce output and then we use that money to pay you. If you do not go to work, the fundamental question that we have to ask ourselves is that where do we get monies to pay you? Particularly when all your concerns were addressed, you still said you are not going to work. So it is against this background that the ministry is saying that, well, we are going to pay you all those times that you worked. But the time that you did not go to work, even against a directive from the National Labour Commission, we invited you on 3 different occasions and you refused to enter appearance. It's only fair that government is unable to generate any money elsewhere, because ordinarily where you work is where you ought to generate money to be paid. I mean, and I've always insisted that apart from government of Ghana, instances like this where you take your employers for granted is at very minimal. This, if you ask me, will be difficult to happen in the private sector.
It's because of, I'm short of time, as I was going to ask you, but these teachers, the students there don't pay on a monthly basis. So why are you then linking it to a month affair?
No, but you see, when if students does not pay on monthly basis, at the end of the day, you work for your employer.
Oh yeah, sure.
Where do you think your employer should get money to pay you?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
As for that, I've run.
Or you think you can absent yourself for a whole month and your employer will pay you?
I cannot do it here.
So, but why do you expect that to be happening in the government sector?
I mean, everybody and
10 seconds on the women right. So from here, we want parents to encourage their learners, their wards, that science is not meant for those, in those days, they'll say they are sharks, but everybody at all can.
I'm not a shark, I read science.
So they should encourage their children or their students who have just completed BECE to choose science. And there are more opportunities for them.
There are so many prospects
in
science.
And they will get, in fact, they also have that idea that when they choose science, they will not get, but they will get it. So they choose science.
Thank you. This is still the AM show, and grateful to you, David Bauer, National STEM Coordinator in charge of Physics at GES, and Kwesi Kwating Piero for the Ministry of Education. Well, it's been a wonderful conversation here, but let's pick your thoughts on the issues that we've discussed. Call us on the lines on the screen, and then you can have your thought. But we'll just take a very quick break. We'll be back. All right, so call us and be part of the discussions we've had. We've spoken about the Bank of Ghana. We've also talked about elephantiasis in Upper West region. We've discussed STEM education, fantastic opportunity for all our GHS students to place themselves in science schools and, learn the next skill that will take them higher. So call us and let's have your viewpoint on all of them. 0302-211691, 0302-211691. Was at it from Ben Akakpo, and all of us here are joining you, to George Agbenowashi, Deputy Greater Accra Regional Manager, Forestry Commission. May God bless you abundantly and grant you grace, peace, and favor as you commence yet another cycle of life. Happy birthday to you, George Agbenowashi. Daniel, good morning to you, sir.
Salute. Hope you're well.
I'm good. I hope you're well too, sir.
That's fine.
Great.
Well, I enjoyed the conversation on the STEM.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask, I just attended an international convention and I realized we've moved on from STEM to STEAM, where there is A in the STEM.
Okay.
And the A stands for art.
It stands for what? Art.
Art, yes.
Okay.
Yes, so I wanted to find out whether we are still stuck on the STEM and why are we not moving on to the STEAM? That was my question. Yeah.
Okay. Why are we not moving on to STEAM? Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Grateful for joining us.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. What is your viewpoint as well? It could be a question as well, as Dan has brought. 0302-211691. Call us and let's hear from you as well. Again, happy birthday to Dennis Ketre Domenu. Akapo says you are his brother from another mother. God richly bless you on this day. May He guide your steps always and grant you abundance in everything good. Happy birthday to you from Benjamin Akapo and the Joy News team. Well, Nana, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for calling, sir. Let's hear you.
Well, I'm so grateful to watch you on the program. And then what I want to say is that there should be more education on various times, not only in the morning, so that parents who are at work now at the moment will maybe also get the opportunity to watch, because it is an interesting conversation that you have given out this morning, so that it will encourage most of the parents to try and then enroll their children into the STEM education and the better.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Otsi, thank you so much, Nana, for calling us, and we're grateful to all of you who called and those who wanted to call but couldn't. We're grateful. It's our official Joy Prime, Joy FM, and other MGL platforms, media partners for the biggest carnival in Ghana, the Chale Wote Street Art Festival. It's an annual colorful festival of sights and scenes with thousands of revelers to be treated to rich African heritage, art, dance, street painting, graffiti, murals, you name it. And trust me, with the multimedia group involved, it's going to be an explosion. It's going to be a promotion of our creative arts economy while achieving the mission to sell and promote Ghana. And just as the name Chale Wote suggests, the festival is flip-flopping to a new location this year, Osu. So come along, let's go make unforgettable memories at Osu from August 21 to 27, 2023. Water is life, you know that. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all purposes, so 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets, and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices. All you must do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. Choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water today and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, it's one for life, because we say for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center, another quality product by Casa Preco Company Limited. For bulk purchase, please call 0262 351251. 0262 351251. This advert is FDA approved. And on that note, on behalf of the entire team, I say thank you very much for making us part of your morning. We'll meet again, God willing, tomorrow. Until then, please be good. And News Desk is up next.